Do you wonder why men always treat you like trash? Isn't it frustrating to have men in your life not recognizing your true value? Well, what if I told you I can give you a strategy that will scare the men away who are attempting to treat you like trash? If you want to learn what that strategy is, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing how to teach men how to treat you. That way you can stop being a second class citizen to a man you're bending over forwards for. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and active. Point number one is your word is your bond. I want you to understand something very important. Here, we're trying to create a filter that will not allow men to even be in your life if they're going to attempt to treat you badly. So our strategy is going to consist of not trying to force men to do anything for you, but trying to help them understand if they're going to access you, they're only going to do that a particular way. Number one, word is bond. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of an analogy here so we can break down what this means. Let's imagine you have a boy here in which this boy is playing inside of this fenced area, right? This is a fence. Now, inside of this fence area, this little boy can run around. He can do whatever he wants. He can go on the swings. He can eat dirt. He can do whatever he feels or his heart desires. But what he can't do is he can't exit this fence, because once he exits this fence, there's a road, there's everything that's dangerous that you don't want him to be at. Here's what you have to understand about men, is that when you tell them that something you are not going to do, right, is against your boundary, or it's just not in your character, or something that you are going to do, you want to make sure that your word is bond. Because what will happen, I can guarantee you this is going to happen, is at one point, this little boy that you told to play within the fence here and not go outside here because there's lots of fun things to do without inside this fence. At some point, this little boy will attempt to be sneaky and exit the fenced area. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we have to understand how to deal with this and what this really means. In your relationships, you have to understand, even though you give your word on things, hey, I'm going to do this, hey, I'm not going to do that, you have to understand you still have to anticipate there will come a crossroads in which this little boy exits the fenced area. Now you have a decision to make. Are you going to abide by what your word was on what you would or wouldn't do? Or are you going to go back on that because the vibes? Let me give you a perfect example of that. You go on a first date with a guy and you start off on this date, talking about how you like to get treated like a princess. You talk about how you want to be respected and the things that you want in a relationship. That's great. Then as the date goes on and you're vibing and things like that, right? You might mention, yeah, I'm not the type of person that I like first dates at a guy's house or, Netflixing and chilling, right? I like to be, courted and all that other good stuff. Okay. And as you're saying that, right, you're giving him your word of how you like to be treated and the way you go about relationships and the way you approach them. But then as the date goes on and the date goes really well and you're laughing and he's telling you really nice jokes and he's really funny, he's really interesting, you feel like there's a romantic connection here. Now you start saying to yourself, well, I like the vibe. And then he says something very interesting, right? He goes from staying in this fence space to attempting to leave the fence by saying, hey, I know, you don't like going over to guys' houses, but I feel like me and you were really vibing. And I feel like the vibes are super, 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 super duper immaculate. It's only been like 2 hours and I feel like I haven't seen you enough. Maybe me and you, we go back to my place, have some wine. Then you have a decision to make because your guy has just escaped the fence here. Okay. And you have to decide, is your word going to be your bond? Or are you going to allow him to escape the fence and say, hey, even though I told you to play within these boundaries, now that you've escaped this fenced area, what am I going to do? Am I going to react the way that I said I would react? Or is my response going to be more in line with how I feel in the moment? See, when you allow this boy to escape here, right? And he starts being a bad boy, now he's existing up out here, right? If he doesn't feel like anything is going to happen with him being or playing outside the fence, He's going to continue playing outside the fence and running around outside the fence and going wherever it is that he wants. So it's really not even just about having boundaries, because this might sound a lot like boundaries. It's also about being who you say you're going to be. Because in the opposite sense, this cannot necessarily just be a boundary where you're saying no to him. This can also be about the things that you say you're going to do for yourself in a positive sense, right? This could be about, hey, I say that I'm going to be going to the gym, 5 days a week. So this time in my day, I'm not really going to have time. Right? I say I'm going to be going to a family event, or I want to work more because I want to make more money. I want to go on vacation, right? We want to show men from the beginning that your word is your bond. That way, when he sees or hears you, I should say something about yourself, about your life, about your desires, he actually takes it into account and says, okay, when she says she needs something, when she says something is important to her, when she said she's going to do something, I know it to be true, because I know action is going to come directly after that, whether it be a consequence or whether it be a positive thing. And when men can actually rely on you to stick to your word, then they know, hey, my approach to her should be in line with what she says she desires or what she says she wants, because if it's not, I know action is coming directly after that. So it's not only just about consequences or boundaries, it's also about allowing him to know what to expect from you, because he knows when you say something, you actually mean it. That way, in the future, we don't have to come across a scenario in which you're dating a guy, and when you speak towards the things that you want to change, the things that you want adjusted, or the things that aren't working for you, he says, why do I even bother? It's not like you're going to do anything about it anyways. Or why do I even bother listening? Because you're not even going to abide by this, and you're not going to have your word as bond. Does that make sense to all of you so far, right? Very important. Let's hop into our point number 2. Okay. Word is bond. Now, point number 2, some of you will struggle with. I'll be honest with you. This one's not easy. Okay. Point number 2. All right, let me draw out this man here, and then let me draw you out with your big ass head. Give you some, oh, that's the hair I drew on you is trash today. Don't worry about all that. Okay, so number 2, what's going on with my thing here? Let me make sure this is, can't see the TikTok comments there. Hold up. Let me make sure the TikTok comments doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. Here's the thing about acceptance. Let me introduce the point first. Okay. Point number 2 is about acceptance. Now, here's the thing that I want you to understand about this. This can be very difficult when you're dating a guy, and I don't want you to fall into this trap. See, when a guy approaches you from the start, right, he might be mesmerized by you. He might be mesmerized by your looks, by your dump truck, by your yitties, by your hair, your smile, your everything, your aura. He just loves you. He's obsessed with you. Cool. That's awesome. But one of the mistakes you can easily make is not allowing him that runway to express how amazing he thinks you are, because you don't think you're amazing. See, this has the opposite effect of what you consider to probably be humbleness. Oh, I don't even look that good. Oh, I'm disgusting today. Oh, you think I'm so beautiful. No, I'm actually ugly. I think I look like trash today. This is a horrible approach, because you're actually teaching men that they shouldn't compliment you, they shouldn't be obsessed with you, they shouldn't admire you. In fact, they should see all of your very, very detailed flaws. And there's plenty of them to go around, right? You're doing the opposite effect of being humble. In fact, you're kind of showing him, hey, I'm not as valuable or as worthy or as deserving as you're imagining in your mind. So before you even get down that train, I'm going to stop you right there or remind you of the ways that I'm not so valuable, okay? Please don't do that. What I want you to do instead, when a guy compliments you, when he shows you the fact that he thinks you're so amazing, you're so awesome, It sounds very simple in theory, right? But you have to get good at appreciation, right? AKA, we can also call it thanks for the compliment. Now, the reason that this can be so difficult is because when a guy is showing you how much he likes you or telling you how much he likes you, and you don't actually believe that you're that amazing, you can start to get in your mind, well, I've got to show him that I don't even believe that, or I've got to tell him or remind him that, I'm not all that. It could be like a tick to you, where because you have this self-belief in your own mind, you find it hard to believe that someone else could see something different in you. Okay? And like I said earlier, that's a mistake, because as time goes on, instead of this cycle being a compliment and some appreciation, some thanks, some acknowledgement, hey, I know that I'm beautiful, but it's so amazing to hear you say that I'm beautiful. It doesn't change the fact that I love hearing it from you. This cycle, right, is supposed to continue over the course of time. If during this time where he's complimenting you, telling you how amazing you are, telling you how beautiful you are, instead of the appreciation and the thanks, you say, no, I'm not, right? And that's your response to what he's saying. He's going to say, I guess you're not. Okay, I guess I have to believe you. If you don't think you're beautiful, if you don't think you're luxurious, if you don't think you're a princess, if you don't think you're drop dead gorgeous, then I guess you're not. And then after a while, what you're going to realize is this cycle will come with less and less compliments, less and less appreciation, less and less obsession on your part, right? In terms of him being so enamored with you, admiring you, and loving you so much. And you'll start to hear that less and less from him. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because it will start to fulfill what your own belief of who you are is. See, when your man comes in with the obsession of you, that you're so amazing, and you don't believe you're that amazing, and you convince him that you're not that amazing, he then treats you like you're not that amazing. What we want instead is this cycle to be the compliment and the acknowledgement of how amazing you are. You agree, I am amazing, but I also appreciate how amazing you say that I am all the time. And then we want this cycle to continue on an everyday basis. You might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with actual treatment? Because men will treat you how they perceive you. I'm going to say it again. This is very important for this point. Men will treat you how they perceive you. So if they perceive you as someone with value, if they perceive you as the princess, if they perceive you as the woman of their dreams, they will treat you as such. Subsequently, if they perceive you as trash, if they perceive you as a peasant, if they perceive you as the scum below their shoe, they will treat you as such. So what we're doing is we're cementing his perception of you so that we can cement his treatment of you, okay? Let's hop into our point number 3. Okay. I need a better eraser than this. I gotta go to the store today. Someone send me a message on some platform and remind me to go to the store and get a better eraser, because I be forgetting all the time. I be forgetting this type of stuff. All right, number 3. Let me write it out and then we'll discuss this. Okay. So I'm going to draw this idea out here, and then we'll have a conversation about this, okay? Even let me put it like this. Yeah, we could do that. All right. So, point number 3 is about contrast. Now, the contrast that I'm referring to when we're talking about your treatment. Remember how, well, maybe if you haven't been here for a while, I tell you all, one of our pillars in the Players Club is that I want you, when you're on dates, to show men that bubbly, interesting side of yourself, not by talking a whole bunch, but making him feel like he's the most interesting person on the planet and allowing him to share and discuss and dump on you. Now, the thing that part of the reason I want that, and I want to kind of connect this to what we're doing here, is we want this contrast of what's going on when you like him, when you like his energy, when you like his treatment, so that we can contrast it with what happens when you don't, right? So we've talked about withdrawal before, but how does this work in the wrong way when you're talking about contrast? See, a guy is being what we can describe as a bad dog, okay? He's just not acting right in the relationship, right? And your response is to get hype, or let's just say be in your masculine energy in your response by yelling, screaming, throwing a tantrum, going all over the place and trying to get him to change by maybe yelling at him and telling him how much of a bad dog he is. Unfortunately, see, the reason that guys are a lot like men is because they respond to things, a lot like dogs are a lot like men, is because dogs and men will respond to things kind of similarly. You know how if you scream and yell enough at your dog might actually make the mistake of thinking you're actually excited, because the dog can't understand language, but they do understand tone of voice. And if he's hearing your tone of voice and it sounds a little bit excited because you're angry and upset, he might actually mistake it for you being kind of like hyped up, not that you're actually mad at something that he did. So it's kind of the same idea with the men in your life. As you're yelling and you're screaming, you're thinking that you're communicating, hey, I'm upset, I'm mad, you're a bad dog. But in some ways, he's actually receiving that as, oh, wait, you're excited? Your voice is loud. You're giving me a lot of energy. That must be a good thing. Maybe I've been a good boy, in fact. And it might sound weird to you because you're saying, well, Tomisin, he can't tell that I'm upset. He can tell that you're upset, but the attention that you give to him when you're upset actually feels good. So what I want for you instead, right, when we're talking about contrast and why it's so important, right, when he acts like a bad dog, right, I don't want you to get hype. I want you to get silent, okay? Because when you get silent, a man starts to ask himself a lot of questions. He starts to say, well, now I'm not getting that same type of energy. Now I'm not getting that same type of interest from you. Because remember, I told you, when you go out on your dates, when you're with him, I want him to get used to the idea of how interested you are in him. I want him to get used to the dynamic in which you ask him a lot of questions. I want him to get used to the dynamic in which you're very talkative, you're very expressive, you're very deep in your feminine, right? Because all of that attention feels good. And when he's doing good, we want him to feel that attention from you. In a contrast, when he's doing bad, we don't want him to feel any of that attention from you. I know it sounds very toxic because I'm essentially kind of telling you to give him the silent treatment even in person, but that's exactly what I want you to do, because that's exactly what communicates to men something is actually wrong here. And this contrast is what shows them the best that he needs to make a change. And what's even more amazing about that is he starts to make his own decisions on how he might need to change or what needs to be addressed, because now he's having to use his critical thinking skills while you're silent, right? Because when you're silent, then he has to address a change because he feels that change in your energy. Once he addresses that change in your energy, you can no longer have to be mad anymore and you can return back to being happy. Okay, now this for some of you might be painful to have this sort of contrast. And I know the same way you discipline your dog and you kind of feel bad for disciplining your dog because your dog's ears are all floppy and he looks all sad and you're like, oh my God, you were such a bad dog, but I hate putting you on timeout. No, you have to show him that contrast. When you're showing a man how to treat you, and I should even preface this by telling you, even at the very beginning, we need to show him this stark contrast between when he acts good and when he acts poorly or bad in this scenario, right? Because this stark contrast, you're going to be training him over the course of time that, hey, if you don't like receiving this silent, withdrawn energy from me, then you're going to be forced to make some changes. And remember at the beginning of the show, I told you this show is not going to actually be about twisting men's arm to treat you a particular way. It's going to be about setting an environment in which men will only be able to get access to you, to be able to hear from you, to be able to see you, to be able to feel your love, to be able to feel your affection and attention if they choose to treat you correctly. So now you're setting really only one real choice if the men want you and want access to you, which is to treat you correctly, okay? So let's hop into our fourth point here. Very, very good. You all following me here? I'm going very quickly. Want to get right to the point. You following me? Tell me in the chat if you following me. Okay. This next one real good. Real good. Point number, what is this? Is 4. Okay. So I'm gonna try to draw you better in this one, because I know the last one you was probably mad at that one. Okay. This one we gonna do you a little bit better. Okay. I'm not gonna do you dirty. Should I give you a big butt? All right, we'll do that. We'll do that. Vibes. That's what we'll do for you. We'll do that for you. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that for you. You look good. It's okay. Yeah, vibes. All right. Then we'll draw the man out here. We're gonna draw him a little bit lopsided because men don't take care of themselves type shit. Anyways, all right. So number 4 is about self-care. The reason it's about self-care is because something very important is happening from the moment a man meets you. When he meets you, he's actually, this is going to sound very silly, he's perceiving you, okay? Perceiving you in the sense that like he's taking you all in as you are. Is this spelled right, chat? Did I misspell this? Tell me in the spell check police, okay? He's perceiving you, right? As he's perceiving you, remember how I said at the very beginning, perception is everything, because perception will change the way that he chooses to treat you, right? As he's perceiving you, he's creating his idea of you, okay? It's perceive, P-E-R-C-E-I-V. Oh. See, I knew it. I could feel it in my gut. I don't have spell check on my phone. You guys do. That's why I need you all, right? I'm just here on the board. There's nothing behind me to spell it properly. Okay? So self-care, right? With perception, we want to be very clear. Self-care is important, right? And I have to be real with you. Have to. When you dress nice, when you're clean, when you're hygienic, right? All of these things matter. Now, I'm not saying you have to dress like an IG baddie. If you like looking like a goth girl and wearing fishnets, that's perfectly fine. If you like looking like a tomboy and you like wearing baggy streetwear, that's perfectly fine. But in that box of whatever aesthetic you choose to have, I still want you to look clean and hygienic, okay? There is no world in which men will be attracted to women who look dirty, okay? There is no world where men will be attracted to women who look like they don't take care of themselves, okay? The reason that I'm saying this is because I want you to make sure you're taking care of something that you can actually control. Because when men perceive you a particular way, which in this case is that you take care of yourself, right? He then says, okay, right? I must approach right. We'll even say this. He'll say, I've got to come correct, right? I should even say come correct. I said approach correct because the kids don't say that. I'll say it how the kids say it, okay? This is how the kids say it. They say, I got to come correct, okay? So, right, it's all, perception is such a big key indicator to how men are going to choose to treat you. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, so what are you actually saying, Thompson? Are you saying that everywhere I go, I should care about how I'm perceived and I should take care of myself even if I'm going to the grocery store, even if I'm going to the library, even if I'm going to the supermarket? Actually, yes. Yes, that's actually exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying be aware of how you're going to perceive every time you step out of the house. I'm not saying that you have to wear a dress everywhere you go. What I'm saying is be aware of how you're being perceived, because any one of the places you go out into the world, you could meet a man that wants to date you. That's honestly the honest truth. Okay. Literally anywhere you go. And anywhere you go, we want from the very beginning his perception of you to be building as I've got to come correct, right? I don't even want a scenario, truthfully and honestly, I don't want a scenario where you go out into the world and you're like, oh, I'm bloated today. I look disgusting. I'm not going to take care of my hair. I'm not going to take care of my skin. I've got pimples everywhere. And you go out and like you look like a bum and then a man approaches you. I don't even want that for you, because I'm fearful that when he approaches you, after seeing you look like that, his idea or perception of you, right, that he builds in his mind after perceiving you will be, oh, she's very low maintenance. She's someone I could literally get on the cheap. She's not someone I'm going to have to really, give too much to, because clearly she barely even takes care of herself, right? I don't want men, even from the beginning, building any sort of impression of you like that, okay? I know some of you hear that and think, well, doesn't that mean he really likes me? Doesn't that mean that he's actually into me, that he doesn't need me to be done up? Yes, cool. That's great in idea. But when he first meets you, we don't want him to be thinking, oh, you're so low maintenance, he doesn't have to do anything for you. Oh, you're so low maintenance that, he doesn't have to give you princess treatment. You're so low maintenance that he literally could just invite you over and expect you to sleep with him on the first night without him doing any work for you, right? We don't want that idea or concept building in his mind of you. Narratives are so important for men and people in general, okay? Let's hop into our point number 5. Thank you, spell police, okay? Or else that would have been on the board the whole time, spelled incorrectly, okay? Point number 5. Let's imagine this like this, okay? So we'll have this here. Okay, so point number 5 is about declining offers. Now, here's the thing that I want you to understand about treatment and perception. You have to be aware that everything you're doing from the very beginning is building a foundation for the rest of your life and the rest of your relationship with this guy. When you adopt the mindset that you make the decision to yourself, you are a princess and you deserve princess treatment, every word out of your mouth, every decision that you make, every aesthetic that you have, everything has to align with that. So what does that mean here in the sense of declining offers? What you must realize is that if you want certain treatment by men, you're also going to have to show them that you only are looking to get certain treatment by men by saying no to things that don't align with the way you want to be viewed. Let me explain this in more detail. Let's say you have 2 different offers. One is to go to the zoo and one is to go to Netflix, right? The Netflix one is what we call low quality. I shouldn't even say low quality. Let me say instead low effort, right? It also takes zero planning, and it also is very, what's the word I can look for? We'll just say low value. Or we'll say, instead of low value, this will be a better way to describe it. Overall, less work, okay? Now, I'm not saying that Netflix is an evil thing, that anytime you watch Netflix with a guy, it's a bad thing, but remember what we're doing here in terms of teaching men how to treat you. from the very beginning, you want to be cognizant of what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to. Because when he's building his perception of you, your ability to say yes or no to things is going to either align with his perception of you as a princess, as a goddess, as an everything, or it's going to kind of break that, I guess we can say, illusion that you are not a princess. You're just trying to pass yourself off as a princess, talk princess game. But then when it comes down to it, you're down for whatever. Okay, you're not going to be down for whatever, right? Because the same way the Netflix is low effort, right? Let's just say for the sake of example, he wants to plan out a zoo date with you, right? Which is more effort, right? It's not necessarily the most exciting thing, but it could be exciting depending on what you're into, right? It takes more planning, right? Overall, more work. And honestly, more interesting. So why do I say all that in terms of offers, right? How do you decline an offer in a feminine way or at all? What do I actually mean by that? Whenever a guy presents to you an offer of, hey, you know, I like you so much, you can come over to my place and we can watch shows. You just politely say, no, thank you. And you don't explain yourself. You don't ask him or you don't say, hey, I would rather do this. You don't say, hey, why don't we go here instead? You don't say, because I seen someone, Amon said, what about coffee? You don't even say that, okay? You don't suggest a different place. Nothing. You don't say nothing. You just say, no, thank you. You can even put a smiley face, okay? You can do it like we're in the 2000s and just put the 2 dots with the parentheses, okay? You put a smiley face, no, thank you, and you leave it at that, right? And then if he asks you why, you say, not my cup of tea. That's all. Don't do so much explaining. Don't give a second option. Don't do none of that. No, thank you, smiley face. The reason I say that is because remember what I talked about at the beginning. In teaching men how to treat you, it's not about twisting their arm. It's about showing them there is only one road to success here when it comes to being with me and being in my life. The only road to success here is to treat me properly, which means the offers that you give me must actually be have some sort of value and have some sort of effort put in. If you would rather do this, perfectly fine. I'm not going to yell at you, not going to scream at you, not going to twist your arm. I'm just going to say no thank you, smiley face, and you won't hear from me. Okay, very simple. So you can choose whichever one you want to do. The choice is yours. Just know if you're going to be in my life, it's going to be because you treated me the right way. Okay? This can be another thing that's very painful if you're frustrated with men and you're used to kind of like having to tell them, hey, no, let's do this instead. Hey, no, let's do that. And stop telling men, let's do this instead. If he decides that this is his best offer he can give you, then so be it. And you don't give your time to him. I know that's kind of painful because you might really want a situation to work out with the guy. But the reality of it is, rather than wanting a situation to work out with one specific guy, I want you to be thinking, I want a situation to work out with a guy who chooses to do this of his own volition. Not the guy who I have to force to do this because, you know, I feel like I need more respect than that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's hop into point number 6. Point number 6. I definitely need. Okay, some of you got to message me and remind me to get a better eraser. Okay, all of you message me, whether it be on Instagram or on whatever, and remind me to get a better eraser because this is gonna pee me off, but I always forget. Okay. Point number 6. Now, in point number 6, it's going to sound like something I've said before, but it's not actually. Kind of different. Okay, so point number 6 is about stories. Now, it kind of sounds like something I've said before when I talk about telling men stories of your life and what you've been through in order to show them something. You're going to do something similar to that, but in this sense. Remember how I talked about declining offers? I actually, when you meet a guy and you start chatting with him about your life and your history and your friendships and things like that, I actually want you to start telling him stories of different times in which you've declined what you consider to be low quality offers. So, for example, let's say you go out on a date with the guy and you're chit chatting with him about your life. Then you get to a point where you're telling stories about things you've been through with your friends. And you might say, yeah, last week they all, decided that they wanted to go to the strip club and they wanted to, throw some money on some strippers. That was just the vibe that they were on. They wanted to go to the strip club with some guys. They asked me that, and I said, look, girls, I love you. I like spending time with you, but I ain't going to the strip club. They were mad about it. They complained. They said, oh, why are you so boring? Why are you so this? Why are you so that? But I told them, look, that's not my vibe. That's not what I'm about. I'm not on that. So you guys enjoy yourself. Tell me how it was, but I'm not going to the strip club with you guys, right? That story will also show him that you are more than willing to decline offers that you don't feel fit you and who you are, that you don't feel fit your personality, that you don't feel fit your aesthetic. And this is all helping to build his perception of you, right? Because we're stacking all of these things on top of each other, right? You expect specific treatment because you think of yourself a specific way and your life aligns with the way that you view yourself. If you think of yourself as separate from low quality people and that you expect someone who's high quality in your life because you're a high quality individual, because you make good decisions of your life, because you have certain boundaries for yourself and what you'll choose to do and what you choose to not do, when you're telling him these stories, you're emphasizing that ideology. You're emphasizing that concept that certain places you do not belong. Certain places people will not find you, or they'll rarely find you there, right? I'm not saying that if you went to a strip club, you're a bad person. But what I am saying is these stories can help solidify and cement that idea. So then when you message him those things, when you tell him those things, now you're able to emphasize that same concept over and over again, okay? Right? Someone says, can I DM you? DM me about what? What are you DMing me about? Depends, okay? All right, let's hop into our point number 7. You in the strip club with it? Be honest. Have any of you been to the strip club lately? Which one of you been to the strip club lately? All right, point number 7 here. I don't want you to get the wrong idea when I say this. Because I'm fearful that some of you might get the wrong idea, but I'll explain it anyways. Okay, so point number 7 is about treating yourself. Now, what I want you to do, we're going to kind of apply this is going to be the Gen Z point. Because what I want you to do is I want you to treat yourself, but I also want you to document this. Now, we're not going to turn you into an IG baddie. But what I want you to do is I want you to say to yourself, okay, certain things I do want from a man, like taking me to fancy restaurants, taking me to the zoo, taking me to the aquarium, taking me to the whatever. I still want you to feel like you actually deserve that, even if you haven't received that, or feel like that's where you belong, even if that's not what you've gotten yet from a man before. So what I want you to do is some of the things that are on your list of places that you want to go or things you want to experience with a boyfriend or that you want him to do for you, I actually want you to take yourself to some of those places, right? You can take a girlfriend with you, save up some of your money, and I want you to treat yourself. Then when you treat yourself, I actually want you to document it, okay? So in today's explanation of that, right, what will that look like? That will look like stories. And I actually want you to post that. Then I want you to allow those stories to exist on your profile. Why? Because your profile is going to be the digital representation of you. Now, obviously, you don't have to be a content creator. I'm not asking you to do a whole bunch, post 20 times a day. All I'm saying is be aware that when you meet a guy finally, he will eventually go on your Instagram profile to build his idea of you or your whatever profile. And if we really want things to be cemented in his mind of his perception of you, that will then affect his treatment of you, why don't we go ahead and make sure we cover all of our bases? So that when he even sees the digital representation of you and he sees you spending money, right? He sees you going out, right? He sees you having fun. All of these things will communicate to him, okay, this is clearly a lifestyle that she's used to living, right? It doesn't have to be super extravagant. It doesn't have to be Nobu every night. It could just be a representation of the things you want to do with a partner, the things you want a man to be willing to do for you if he's going to be in your life. Then when he sees that, right? When he sees that, it will all start to make sense to him that, okay, this is her vibe, this is her aesthetic, this is what she likes, this is what she's into. He's building that in his mind, and also it's helping him curate his approach towards you and make it very personal and interesting to you based on what you're already into. Okay, right? And like I said, it doesn't mean you have to turn into an IG baddie because someone says, what if you don't use social media much? I'm not saying you have to be an IG baddie. I don't need you to post 20 times a day. I don't need you to have it all, even all over your main profile. It can just be simple stories of the places you went. You don't even have to be in them. But I want them to be available on your profile, wherever it is you like to frequent on social media, so that people and men that come to your profile, because they'll eventually follow you on something, they can see that and understand, okay, this is what you're about, right? You don't want this is where we live in 2025, okay? You don't want your social media to be so bare that people can't get any idea of what you're about. And if you don't have social media, then don't worry about this point, okay? But we want them to be able to have some idea of what you're about if you do have a social media profile, so that we can even add on to solidifying exactly who you are and what you're about. Does that make sense? Okay. We on the same page? Now, do you guys have any questions about the 7 that we just discussed here today? Okay, I hope those all make sense to you. If you guys have any questions, you can ask them now. Someone says in the YouTube chat, she says, there is a YouTuber on here, I won't name names, that be deep diving on people's IG pages when they're on Pop the Balloon and 20v1. So they go to the people's IG page and they search them up. Okay, interesting. Trust me. Hey, social media, you really want to make sure yours is representing you the way that you want it to represent you. Because some people might see your social media and they might be like, maybe she's not who I want to be with, or maybe he's not who I want to be with. So definitely something to think about, right? Someone says, girls, in order to teach a guy to treat me properly, should I tell him stories that I rejected at one who didn't buy me a new phone when it was destroyed, but begged me for meeting via text? I would stay away from trying to tell guys stories about guys you've rejected, simply because even though it sounds like it's doing the same thing, it doesn't have the same effect. It just kind of sounds like, oh, I'm telling you all the guys chase me, and it's just very cringe. It's like someone standing up and saying, I'm so hot. Even if they're good looking, it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, like we get it. I see that you're attractive. So you just standing up and saying I'm so hot, it doesn't really, like, what am I supposed to say to that, right? So I'd rather you not do that. I'd rather it be stories about friends that you decline their offers, or it could even be family. It's a lot less, I'm so amazing, you know what I mean, type of thing. LP Baby says, for point number 5, how do you tell a guy you out your goddamn MF in mind, boy, in a classy way when he suggests something low value? You don't. You don't scream, you don't yell, and you don't try to tell him how to correct it or change the approach, right? All you do is you go silent, or you say no thank you to the offer, right? Very simple. You can say no thank you even with your smiley face. And if he's confused why you're saying no thank you with no explanation, let him use his own critical thinking skills to figure out why you just declined the offer with no explanation. Trust me, if you in some ways, we have to coddle men, okay? But in some ways, you have to leave room for him to do his own critical thinking. In some times, when you coddle them too much in terms of giving him the direct answer or how he needs to change his approach, it doesn't work, right? Sometimes we need to let him stew and think to himself, I just gave her a really ridiculous, stupid offer. Why would she decline that offer? Maybe she's not going for that. maybe I have to change my approach. Trust me, a lot of men, when they actually get the chance to use their critical thinking, will be able to think it through and adjust or change their approach towards you. Okay. Um, Someone asked in the YouTube chat, she says, what are the best colors to wear? That really kind of depends. Actually, we had a show about this. That kind of depends on your skin tone, your overall, complexion, and what colors look best on you, right? Because someone with an olive skin tone will have different colors that look best on them from someone with a darker skin tone, right? So you kind of have to do some experimenting. Also take into account when you go out, what colors do you get the most compliments in, right? Because that will also tell you a lot about a lot. What colors do your friends say look the best on you? That will tell you a lot about a lot. Because when you start noticing certain colors or certain looks, you get a lot of compliments are clearly something of that look or aesthetic is working for you, and you kind of want to just work with that. Okay. Honey Bell says in the TikTok chat, she says, do you think going shopping, let me scroll up here. Do you think going shopping for the first date is a good idea? Me personally, I don't think that that's a good idea, because I don't think that it sends the right message. Because for you as a woman, even if you're meeting a guy with money, you never, ever, 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 ever want to make it seem like you're here for his money. You will always lose approaching men with money, leading with money. Because what do you think the number one thing that they're wary of when they're dating women is? It's money. The same way if a guy came to you on a first date and said, hey, by the way, I want to sleep with you tonight, like as soon as possible. Like if we could make this process go by very quickly and I could sleep with you in the next 30 minutes, that would be ideal. Imagine how many red flags would be up in your mind if a guy approached you from the very first date in the first 10 minutes of the date on that type of energy. Like imagine what you would feel like. It's the same idea when you come on a date with a man who has money and you lead with money. It just makes him put a wall up where he says, I don't want to get anywhere close to you or tell you anything about myself. You're much better off, especially when you know a man has money, with not even discussing the money. Okay, the money shouldn't even be a thought to you. Your last thing you talk about is finances or money. You just talk about his feelings and his emotions. And I promise you, you'll get a lot farther with that than you will leading with money. Okay. Justice Liberty says, I'm thinking of getting on a dating app. Any suggestions as to the best one? I have 0 suggestions for you for dating apps. Maybe some people in the chat will recommend them to you. I will not. Okay. I will never recommend any of you dating apps, because I know the type of men on dating apps don't even really want to date, right? They either want to sleep with you for nothing, or they want to chit chat with you endlessly and never actually meet up with you. Or they want to basically have someone that they can kind of hang out with or spend time with without any real end goal. Ironically, most of the men who are on dating apps don't even want to be in a serious relationship. That's the honest irony of it. So my advice would be to stay away from them, meet men in other ways, ideally some way that requires you to be in person. Because then at least if a guy approaches you in person, we know he has courage. We know he has some cojones, which is good, because a lot of men don't have no cojones these days. And you'll do a lot better with the masculine men with some cojones than you will with the shy soy boy who wants to hide behind a screen. Okay. Oh, someone said, can you do a recap? If you missed any of the points that we discussed here today, because I did do 7, it's very long. Rather than me repeating myself, you can go over to my YouTube channel, because I'm live on YouTube at the same time as I'm live on TikTok. And you can rewatch the show there on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel is just my name. That's why I'm pointing to the top right corner of the screen. You can just type in my first name, Tomisin. You'll see it's live right now on YouTube as well. And then you can just rewind it and watch all of the points from there if you really, really, really want it, okay? Sheba says, if a man is shirtless at the beach, he is just at the beach/pool. But for a woman, some men assume you are posting a thirst trap and it's just one-sided, but this is how a lot of insecure men think. Well, yes, insecure men think like that, but we're not trying to help you get with an insecure man, right? Like there has to be an understanding, right? When we're mature adults, we have to be understanding of like, life. Okay. What I mean by that is if you're taking a bikini picture at the beach, you're at the beach. Okay. Now, if you're taking a mirror bikini picture in your house on a winter day, that might be a different story. But if you're at the beach, you're at the beach, right? There's nothing particularly wrong with that. And you don't even want people in your life that are going to be like, why would you go to the beach, wear a bikini, and take a picture in it? Do you go to the beach and wear a jacket? Like, what are you supposed to like? So people like that, you won't even be able to come to an understanding with because they're just lacking the emotional maturity to accept anything except, hey, I just want to control everything that you do. You're not gonna be able to work with people like that. Someone says, what's cojones? Cojones means balls. Okay, it's the Spanish word for balls. I just said cojones because it's a little bit lighter. Okay. Uh, Sleeping with homeboys is absolutely diabolical to say. Wait, what? Who would be sleeping with home? Who said that? Who said that in the chat? Someone said that in the chat. Rachel B says, what do you say about an ex you want to go on a date? What? What do you mean about an ex? Like an ex that wants to go on a date? Do you want to go on a date with your ex? I'm questioning your sanity if you're open to going on a date with your ex. Why is that happening? Okay. Henya says I wear a full cover suit, surf suit at the beach. Hey, whatever it is you're looking, whatever it is you're comfortable with, is perfectly fine. Okay. Someone says, do you speak Spanish? I do not speak Spanish. By the way, any of you that have a question for me that might be unrelated to this show, or just in general about your situation specifically, and it's detailed, it's not just like a one sentence question, you can all go to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Type where it says private relationship advice. Click that one. Okay, that one will have private relationship advice. Click that one, and then you can type out your question to me, send it in to me, and then I respond with a voice message. It's usually 8 to 10 minutes long, depending on how much details in your message. And I give you some advice or perspective on whatever it is you have a question about. Okay, I'm pretty caught up. I think I only have 1, 2, maybe 3 left in my queue, and then I'll be all caught up. But it usually only takes me a couple of days to answer the questions, unless there's like a really long queue. Sometimes there'll be a really long queue because a lot of you have a lot of questions and they're very long. Okay, but I always get to them usually in no more than 7 days. Okay.
When you are gorgeous, and I'm not talking about, regular beauty, and I don't want to say that to be harmful because I think every woman is beautiful, but I'm talking about the type of beauty that people only see once in their lifetime, that people never forget, that rare Anoki type of beauty. When you are that type of beautiful, yes, you are granted pretty privilege, but not in the way that you expect. Don't mind my neighbor. She's having some issues. She's talking to her family. But when a lot of women think of pretty privilege, they think of, having access to all these things, people treating them like goddesses, them being given all these free things. And while that is true, a lot of women do experience that. And with this level of beauty, you might experience that time to time. But the majority of your experience is going to be you being isolated. True beauty is something that is intimidating. When we see someone that's truly beautiful, I don't know if you guys can say this, but with me, if when I see someone that's like the pinnacle of beauty, I don't even want to make eye contact with them because it's just so intimidating. Like, you're just so beautiful. Like, why I'm not even freaking worthy to walk up to you. You know what I mean? So, because of this, you're not really going to have a lot of people pursuing you romantically, and you're not going to have that many friends because, everyone is just way too intimidated of you. Like, I know it sounds annoying, and if you've been told this a lot, you're probably going to roll your eyes, but it's true. Like, true beauty is intimidating. It's scary. So because of this, a lot of women, I'm not going to say that they're going to feel isolated, they're going to be isolated. But this is where the abnormal, or not abnormal, but here's where the different type of pretty privilege comes in. So number 1, because people are so afraid to approach you, whether that be platonically or romantically, it's kind of gonna weed out all of the people with bad intentions. Like, you're not just gonna have all of these people throwing themselves at you, if that makes sense. So even though that the quantity of people that you attract will be very minuscule, the quality will definitely make up for that. That's why, like, the most beautiful girl you can think of, she's probably never had a boyfriend, and she probably has her select group of friends that she's been with for a long time. And secondly, because you're kind of, in a sense, isolated, or not in a sense, you kind of are isolated, you have all that time to focus on yourself.
I'm muted. Muted King. Okay, mute King me. All right. So here's the thing. Now, when she's talking about beauty and being isolated, I know it sounds very sad the way she's describing it, but let me give you a little bit of a different perspective by giving you an analogy. Let's imagine a scenario. We'll talk about business for a little bit. Okay, stay with me. Some of you who are not financial gurus, don't worry. I'll make it simple. There's a credit card called the American Express Platinum Card. Hey, this credit card is a credit card in which people get a very expensive credit card, and when you get it, it allows you access to very exclusive airport lounges. Okay, that's actually what it does. So you get access to exclusive airport lounges that when you go to an airport, you get to sit in a completely different area of the airport when you're waiting for your plane than the other regular people. Okay, so when you're doing that and you're in that exclusive airport lounge because you have the Platinum American Express card, yeah, there's less people sitting where you're sitting. You might be one of the few people in the airport lounge at the time, right? It's an exclusive lounge. So it's very isolating to be in a place where no one else has access to. But let me ask you all a question. Do you think all the people sitting in the general public with the hard seats and all this noise and the babies crying, do you think they would rather be in your exclusive lounge where it's quiet, the seats are soft, they're serving food, they're serving coffee, there's nice ambiance, it's nice and peaceful? Or do you think they would rather enjoy being in the chaos of the general public? The reason I'm saying that is because, yeah, beauty is isolating, but that doesn't make it any less desirable by other people, right? People will still desire you, and you'll get a lot of what you want and a lot less of what you don't want. And keep in mind as well, even though you're beautiful and it's intimidating to a lot of people, and I think she mentioned this in her video, right? It will naturally filter out a lot of low quality people that know deep down in their heart that they're not even worthy of your time, right? Of even you giving them access, you giving access to them of you, right? Which is actually kind of good because then you waste less time on trash people and you spend more time with only people who actually have something to offer you. Do you understand what I mean? Right? So it can actually be a really great filter if you think about it that way. The reason I'm saying that is because I don't want you downgrading your looks to think that you're doing something better for yourself by downgrading your looks. You're not doing anything good for yourself by doing that. And number two, I also want your self-talk of, hey, I'm beautiful, but I'm isolated. I don't want that to be your self-talk because the moment you start saying that, that's when your life goes downhill. You will see exactly what you say in your mind. You can say I'm beautiful and I'm desirable, and that means that only high quality people come up to me. I'd rather that be your self-belief than, oh, I'm so isolated, I don't have any friends, because that's not going to be the self-talk we want to manifest into your life.
I know we gonna all disagree on this, or we gonna all have different perspectives. But I feel like hoes, just hear me out. I feel like hoes like gorgeous doll, men love. Like I feel like Future love her, but them be the hoes that they can't be with. You know what I'm saying? Like you done move funny. You done, you know what I'm saying? You done, like, you can't be my main bitch because I can't have you on my arm because you gonna embarrass the nigga reputation. I can't take you home to mama. But when I lay in the bed at night with my bitch, you who I want to be with, you who I want to go to Dubai with, you the one who I want to travel, have
To
fun with, you
Bobby.
the one that I want to have S with, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like hoes, like, you know what I'm saying, this, you the pretty girl, you the one that got a good name to yourself, you carry yourself nice, you dress nice, you act like a lady. I can have you on my arm. I can brag on you. I can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be in a relationship. I can have you on my arm. I can take you home to mama. You know how to act. You know how to carry yourself. Ain't too many niggas done had you. You something I can brag on. But deep down inside, they love them hoes like Gorgeous Doll, messy, dramaful, call my phone, cuss me out. They love that toxic shit. Like, them be the hoes that deep down inside, they gonna always love. They gonna always come through. But
I think what she also, what I'm gonna try and translate what I think she means here. I think that men have a desire for popular hoes, so to speak. What I mean by popular hoes is women who are deemed to, have been around, but they're still popular to everyone. So even though they've quote unquote been around, there's still a general consensus amongst a lot of men that they still desire her. Like, even though she's quote unquote been around, other guys still really want to be with her or have their turn, so to speak. So when someone's a popular hoe, ironically, even though the idea of being a hoe is supposed to be a bad thing, men also have a desire to satisfy their ego and feel like the man. So being with a popular hoe that enough other men still have a consensus is desirable, it's kind of like it balances itself out. So, right, because men really, what they want more than anything is they want to feel like the man by being with the girl that other people want. So if a girl is popular enough, even though she's been with a lot of guys, there's still a lot of guys that still have a desire to be with her or imagine her or dream about her or fantasize about her. That in itself is the ego boost that men need to say, okay, even though she's technically a hoe, she's still popular, she's still desirable, so forget that, because I'll be the man if I'm with her because she's still desirable. Does that make sense? So I think that's what she's trying to decipher, is how men will go about popular hoes versus how they'll go about girls who are, not popular hoes. We'll just say it like that, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not into casual sex, I'm not into being just friends, and I'm damn sure not into seeing where shit go. I'm an intentional person, and I need to know what the fuck you want with me and what the fuck you want to do with my time. I would rather die single than to live my life in lust. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not into casual sex.
That's a good mindset to adopt. Now, obviously, it's a lot easier said than done, but it's a very good idea to have in your mind. Okay. To be thinking for yourself. Should I let you guys in on a little secret? Nah, I shouldn't let you guys in on a little secret. I should keep it to myself. But I do think that that's a very good mindset to adopt, and I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, listen up, because this is a lesson to be learned. If there is one person that you decide to keep around you as a friend, it needs to be a man who cheats on women. Hear me out here, because I know that you're like, why the fuck would I, be friends with a man? That's one. And two, why would I be friends with a man who hurts women? Listen, okay? No.
The secret is about me, chat. That's why, I don't know if I should tell you guys.
I'm sorry.
Okay, listen up, because this is a lesson to be learned. If there is one person that you decide to keep around you as a friend, it needs to be a man who cheats on women. Hear me out here, because I know that you're like, why the fuck would I, be friends with a man? That's one.
Okay,
Two,
cool,
why would I
cool.
be friends with a man who hurts women? Listen, okay? Nobody's telling you to validate what the man does. Nobody tells you to respect what the man does, because obviously what he's doing is shitty shit, right? But it's about what he knows and how he knows how to play the game. A few years ago, there was this guy that I was really into, and let me tell you, babe, I'm gonna be real with you. I was giving it my all. I was, and I should not have, because I was for sure not getting it the fuck back. But I was blind. I was blind because of the dick. Oh my! I was blind, and I was giving him up. I was giving it my all. I thought it was getting serious. It was very much not getting serious for him. But I'm hanging out with this guy that was my friend, and he cheated on bitches. I mean, straight up, he would come to me and he would tell me about how he was fucking 5 different bitches at once. He was dating 3 different girls. He got a baby mama. Like, it was the whole nine. I tell him I got this situation. I'm like, look, bro, I'm stressed out. Like, I don't know what's happening here.
Chat, what do you think her type is? Tell me in the chat. What do you think her type? I'm just curious. Just curious.
I'm very fucking confused. This guy was, he was throwing me back and forth and giving me very much mixed signals. So the guy asked me, he's like, lay it on me straight. Like, what's going on? Tell me the situation. I tell him the situation. I don't even get halfway through the situation. In the middle of talking to him, he starts laughing at me and says, oh, he's fucking other bitches. Just straight up. Just straight up tells me he's fucking other bitches. That man does not want you. He's not taking you seriously. He just wants to fuck you. I'm sitting here like denying. I'm like, nah. Like, it's not like that. Like, you just don't know him. Like, you just don't know him. And his response is, no, trust me, because I do the same shit. He talk about the 5 different girls that he's running around at the moment. He's like, he's doing the exact same thing. The exact same situation that this guy is running on me, he in it himself is running around on 5 different bitches. He laid out exactly what's happening behind closed doors that I don't know about with this guy. What's going through this man's head. And let me tell you something, he was right. I ended up finding out the hard way, because that night still I was like, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I continued with the guy. And then Me and the guy ended things, and then I found out afterwards that every single thing that man told me was very much true. So do with that information what you will. They may be shitty in relationships, but they are helpful in your back pocket, okay? Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually not bad advice as long as you don't fall in love with the guy who's doing the cheating. Because I know some of you might have a guy like this, but then that guy has good D, and then you actually you're sleeping with him too. You can't. No, you can't do that. But this is a good idea and concept in the sense that like that friend, that guy that does that can be helpful to you in terms of describing to you what goes on. That's kind of like what I do. That's kind of like my place in your life, is to help you understand what men actually do, because I know what they actually do, right? I've done it, and I also have friends that do it. So that's kind of my way of helping you out in life as well. Let me see. I had a couple more videos saved here. Let me just refresh the page. Okay. Let's see here. There we go.
One thing that is so interesting being in like a safe, trusting relationship is that like my boyfriend isn't. Just kidding. Just kidding. Nope. She was then shot 57 times. One thing that is so interesting being in like a safe, trusting relationship is that like my boyfriend isn't. Just kidding.
There's hope out there, Chad. I promise you. I promise you. It might not look like it right now, but there's hope out there. You'll find a good man. We have to keep believing that it's possible. We can't just believe all the men are trash, or else that'll be a reality. Okay? There's good men out there.
I just had an epiphany and I have to share it. It's about the taxi cab theory, and if he wanted to, he would. And I am shook. If he wanted to, he would tells us that no matter what a man has going on in his life, if he likes you enough, he will make it work. Doesn't matter what else is going on in his life.
To a certain extent.
I do not agree with this at all. I think that if he wanted to, he would. Certainly applies in the very early days of dating. If you don't hear from somebody, if they don't text you back, or if they don't message you back on your dating app, they probably just weren't that into it, didn't want to, whatever. But if you guys have like an established relationship and it doesn't pan out, that's usually more about compatibility and alignment and what people have going on in their life, etc. And let's be very clear that what people have going on in their life, timing, is a part of compatibility. It is not a separate piece. If you are in a time frame in your life where you're ready to settle down, and another person is in a time frame in their life where they're really on a big push to like save some money, buy a house, and then they want to settle down with a partner, you guys are not aligned with your timing. And alignment on timing is critical. So anyway, I digress. But so the taxi cab theory comes from Sex and the City, and it's this idea that men do not commit until they are ready to commit. Not when they find their person, but when they're ready to commit. And this is so true in my experience, in my parents' experience. Both of my parents, while they're still together and I know they love each other, they both have a separate love of their life. And both of those stories have to do with the man not being ready. And in my mom's story, the man was never ready. The man never married anyone. He still tells her happy birthday on her birthday. Like, he loved her that much. They bought a house together, and it wasn't enough because he wasn't ready. It had nothing to do with whether he wanted to or not. Do you think he wanted to pine for this woman for decades? No. And my dad looks longingly back at his ex-girlfriend, Julie, who wanted to move to California with him when he was leaving North Carolina after he'd gotten back from Vietnam. And he was like, no, I want to start my career in aviation. I want to sow my wild oats. I want to party. I want to have a good time. I want to make some money. I want to have a nest egg before I settle down. He still talks about her. Probably not to my mom, but when we talk about like my breakups, he's like, you know, do I look back at Julie and think, I wonder what life would have been like? Yeah, of course I do. But I wouldn't have you girls then. And you are my life. And your mother has been a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother. So like everything works out the way that it's supposed to. But this man, I can feel the sorrow and I can see the longing when he talks about this. And so it had nothing to do with how much he cared about her or didn't. It just had to do with where he was in his life. He didn't have all of the things done that he needed to get done before he was ready to commit in a big, serious, like marriage type of way. A phenomenon that we usually see is that women have a greater tendency to make themselves ready when they meet Mr. Right, whether they were ready or not, whether they were looking or not. Whereas men might meet their dream girl and they won't make themselves ready because they just aren't ready. The epiphany that I had might not be that profound, but it feels profound to me. And it's that the reason why this phenomenon operates in this direction is because women are on a time clock. So they think, I'm not quite ready, but this man's really great. And who knows if I'll meet somebody in the next couple of years and I want to have kids in the next couple of years. And this obviously applies if you want children. Men can have children whenever. So they don't have to settle down when they find a really wonderful person. They can wait until they feel ready and then pick up the next person that gets in their cab. Or often they'll come back around to somebody that was an ideal woman in their life, but at an unideal time. They'll come back around and they'll see if she's available. And if she is, great. And if she's not, they'll date around and they'll date somebody that might not be their ideal, but there's chemistry and it works and they're ready to go. So let's fucking go. So
Okay. Let's unpack some of the things that she said here, because she said a lot, and there's a lot we have to discuss here. So let's start off with the beginning of what she said here as it relates to men being ready. That I do agree with, in the sense that one of the things that I advise you to do when you're going on your dates as well is ask men about their own life and where they are in their life. Like, what are their next steps? What is their plan? What is their, like, I was having a conversation with a woman the other day, and I was, kind of advising her and helping her, and I was asking her, hey, like, this guy that you're talking to, what are his next steps for his life? Like, do you know where he wants to live? And she says, honestly, I'm not really sure. He bought a house, or he bought a house with some other people in a whole different, country, because that's where he's originally from. And I said, well, you have to start thinking to yourself and asking yourself questions and asking him questions like, what is his ideal life? Where does he want to be? How settled does he feel in his career? How settled does he feel in his overall profession? Is he close to where he wants to be? There's still a lot of work? Is that work going to take him to a different country? Is that work these are questions you have to ask, because for men, if they're not in a place in their life where they want to actually settle down and be in a relationship, it doesn't matter if he wanted to, he would, like she mentioned. It's just a matter of is he ready or not? Because men that aren't ready, there's no amount of desire that they can use to make a situation work. You're just going to end up being frustrated with each other. Now, the other thing that she mentioned, I honestly disagree with. I disagree with it simply for moral reasons rather than factual reasons. What I mean by that is she talked about how both of her parents have a separate love of their life that is not each other, that basically was essentially right person, wrong timing type of thing. Just morally, I don't think that that's information that your children need to know. I also don't think that information is super duper relevant to your partner. Just simply my whole thing is that if you met someone and the timing played a role in your lack of ability to be in a successful relationship, I'm always a proponent of then that relationship was meant to teach you something, give you some sort of skill set to be able to have a different successful relationship. That's my whole thinking and understanding. I'm never of the ideology that I meet someone, they're perfect for me, and then something happens that ruins the relationship, and now my entire life is just a tragedy in which I was supposed to be with that person, but I didn't end up being with that person because tragedy, okay, because of the plot. That's not, because I just think that that's a very it's a very dissatisfying way to live, because then you're saying, yeah, I'm kind of with, the person I ended up with, not really the ideal person, not really the person I think has all the qualities I'm looking for, but good at that to me, that's such a sad way to live. I want to be able to look at my children and say my children are a combination of me and this person that I love so much. I could literally eat my children because they're me and this person I love so much. I would love to be in that state. Maybe that's just me living in a fantasy land. I would much rather be married to someone and committed to someone that I feel that way about than to think in myself, yeah, I'm with a person and they're cool and, we have kids. But, every now and again, I think about this one person and how good our life. Well, that's so tragic. What type of, why would you want to be in that state all the time? I don't understand. Even if you are too, I just think that that's not, because she said she told her that, so her being the daughter and not so much the mom, but I just think that that's not even information I think you got to protect your kids from something. It's not a free for all here. Maybe I have a different way of going about things, but it's not a free for all out here. Like, just because things are true or you feel certain ways doesn't mean you have to speak everything. Okay, some information, just leave it to yourself. Let your children be protected from some things. You know, it doesn't have to be a whatever. Just whatever. Who cares? Whatever.
The box theory, the taxi cab theory, and
Wait,
if
this
he
is-
wanted to, he would. Ladies, all three of these play off of each other in a man's mind. Okay, welcome to the Daddy Academy. Let me break this down. I don't think anybody has made a video like this. I'm about to do it. When a man meets you, he knows right away, potential girlfriend or hookup girl. He knows, okay, if you're towards the middle, hookup girl, there's a chance, there's a
I don't agree with Nico on that, because I think that sometimes you meet a girl and the smart, really intelligent men understand, even if I meet a girl and I think she's wife material, I will still allow this relationship to play out and I'll see where she lands on things. Because men also, in the process of dating you, will be smart men will be evaluating your intangible qualities to see if you really have what it takes to be like a wife, like if that's even what you're ready for, right? If you even have that level of emotional maturity. So I don't think it's I know right away and it's never going to change. I still think that there's a learning process towards deciding which category he's going to put you in. And that learning process takes some time because he has to see some things on a consistent basis. So I don't agree with it's just at the very beginning and a snap of a finger.
There's a slight chance you could kind of change his mind and flip you over to the to the right side, but more or less, he sort of knows. While he was on this date, the taxi cab theory is in play. He might have just been going out for the sake of just wanting to kind of meet people and hook up, right? Maybe he's pursuing a dream or something, pursuing a passion, a big goal, and he's not really looking to be in a relationship. So in theory, his taxi cab light may be off and he's looking for just kind of like a hookup. So just because his taxi cab light is off doesn't mean a man won't be out dating. Like, everyone loves human connection. Like, men are going to go out and they're going to date even.
When he's saying taxi cab, for those of you so you're not confused, he's talking about basically a man being in such a place where he's ready to be in a relationship that the next person that comes into his life that is majority what he's looking for, he will wife. That's what the taxi cab idea means.
Even if they don't have an intention of, seeking a long-term relationship. But
Why did he
okay,
stop
might
talking? What just happened?
even if they don't have an intention.
What? Can you guys hear him? Oh, there it is. There we go. Sorry.
Of, seeking a long-term relationship. But, okay, he might be out just to have fun and whatever, but if he meets the right woman who off the bat he is absolutely crazy about, this is where if he wanted to, he will kick in. He will not let that woman walk, okay? A man knows when he meets a gem, okay? And he will
Fair.
meet you and he will go, oh shit, like I didn't really want a girlfriend, but how am I going to find somebody like her?
That I can 100% agree with. If you're good at evaluating people as a man and women as a man, it is pretty clear to you when you get to a certain stage in your life. It is pretty clear to you when you found a gem or not. I will 100% agree with that. You still evaluate the gem, but it's pretty clear. Same way when you pick out a diamond, you still take it to test, make sure it's a diamond, make sure everything's authentic, right? But it's like that.
And he will begin to pursue you towards relationship. Very, very, very rarely will a guy meet a woman that he's this crazy about and situationship her, okay? Very rarely. The only times a man would do that is if he has an extremely high inflated ego version of himself that he thinks and believes that he could find numerous people just like you. Like I said,
that's usually a sign of emotional maturity, because if you believe that you found a gem and you believe that when you're actually, even if you don't feel like you're ready for a wife as a man, but you believe you found a gem, you start to realize that the idea of not taking this serious and losing the gem makes no sense, because at one point you're going to look for a wife and you're going to need those qualities. So if you lose the gem now, because you're being silly or being goofy, it's going to be detrimental to your future. So, I mean, the smart men understand like a really important part of your success in life is finding the right woman. So if you come across the right woman, you're going to be like, all right, even though that wasn't in my plans right now, I kind of want to make some adjustments. Now, I'm talking like high level stuff. Maybe not all men are thinking this way, but at least the intelligent men are thinking that way.
Slim percentage of guys, most guys, if he isn't pursuing you to a relationship after meeting you, he just wasn't that crazy about you. So what does this mean for you ladies? Okay, we can think about the guys all you want, but what does this mean for you? Okay, everything I've always said still holds true. You in your mind need to just have a boundary and say like, listen, by a month, if I'm not feeling like things are progressing towards a relationship, I need to walk, okay? There's no amount of communication or anything you could do to change someone else's mind, okay? So you're not gonna, just by sticking around, sitting around waiting, you're not gonna get him to change his mind and to turn that taxi cab light on, okay? Sometimes you just gotta get on the bus and get the hell out of there. The box theory, the taxi cab theory.
So he's kind of combining all of those to basically say like, you do have to be gauging how things are progressing over time, because when a man recognizes he wants you, he's going to try and at least progress things, right? He's not going to just allow things to sit and for you to be an absolute, no man's land, so to speak, right? So understanding what progression looks like for men and in a relationship is very important, because obviously some men will progress a little bit quicker, some men will progress a little bit slower, but understanding what progression is will help you ease your anxiety to understand at least we're moving forward. Progression is the main most important thing. Okay, let's hop into our next segment of the day. For those of you excited people, please spam it up in the chat if you know what time is on the way. And for those of you who are very confused, don't worry, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. You're gonna know. You're gonna know. It's gonna come to you very soon. Okay, so I don't want any of you to look at your clock. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your entire home. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Quiet or loud? Which one, chat? Tell me. Discord time. Okay, you guys never know which one's going to come. Some days it could be super loud. Some days it could be super quiet. Okay, chat, for those of you who don't know what is going on here, I'm going to explain how this works to you. Discord times where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or their situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you the different ways in which we do and handle this Discord time. Okay, so there's 3 ways to send in your message here. The first way is through our free section in our relationship advice forum in our Discord. Now, the way you access that is by going to the link in my bio if you're watching this on TikTok, or in my description if you're watching this live on YouTube, and you click where it says Players Club Discord. And then when you get into the Discord here, you go into the relationship advice forum and you drop your question in. Now, I'll warn you, our questions here are first come, first serve in the free section, and there's a lot. Okay, you see all these highlighted questions? I haven't even answered those yet. So I'll be honest with you, if you ask your, wow, there's a lot. If you ask your question here today, it's probably going to take me a couple weeks to get to your question because there's a lot. Yeah, I'm still scrolling, okay? And so just keep that in mind. If you ask your question, you can't expect it to be answered, right now, this second, okay? But if you're someone who's very impatient, you have another option if you want me to answer your question very soon. This section here is our premium Discord relationship advice forum. Now, the way that this works is it's kind of like going to a theme park and being able to get a skip the line pass, like a fast lane pass, because in our premium relationship advice section, I read all of these questions out that are in here. Well, we have some pictures in here out first before I go into the free section. Okay. Now, the way that you get access to this is only for certain people. Okay. You have to first go to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says premium Discord relationship advice. When you click that link, it's going to prompt you to donate to the show. And it's also going to prompt you to put in your donation the title of your question that you have and your Discord username. That way, when you send in your donation, I get a notification on my phone that tells me that that's you and that's your question. That way, the fact that you're getting to skip that long queue of people in the free section, it makes it fair to everyone that you're getting to skip that long line, right? Just to keep it, nice and fair for everyone. You have options. You want to skip the line, you can. You want to stay in the free section and wait, you can do that as well. Okay. And the third way to send in your question is for those of you who have, what is all this in here? For those of you who have a question for me, but you don't want your question to be read out on the show. Obviously, maybe you're a more private person, or maybe you just have a more private type of question, right? You can send in your question to me in our private relationship advice section, or link, I should say. This link is available here in the Discord. It's also available in the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description. When you click that on YouTube, when you click that private relationship advice link and you go to it, it's going to prompt you to type out your message, and then you'll send it in and submit it to me. When you submit it to me, I'm the only one that's going to see it. I read it through, and then I respond with a voice message, usually 8-10 minutes long, or 15 to 20, depending on how long your question is. I've had some 15-20 minute answers. And then I send it back to you. No one else reads it, and you'll get your response from me that way. Okay, private, right? Now, let's hop into our first question of the day in our premium section, and let's get right to it. So our first question of the day comes from Sis. There's no title, so we'll just start it off, okay? Sis says, "Hey, Thompson, I'm sorry, I accidentally submitted my payment with no title. It's okay. Remember when my boyfriend admitted that at the beginning, he lied about only dating me during the talking stage? I asked him about everything and found out that he was loyal when I was in America and just started dating him. But when I started ghosting him in Lebanon and posting on a yacht, he assumed I was uninterested and started practicing pulling other girls. One of the girls he dated when I was in Lebanon was a Latina, and he also had pineapples with her." So you're saying like during this kind of in-between stage, when I came back from Lebanon, he blocked her and every other girl because he was just using them. And because he tried, when he tried one last time to ask me out, I said yes. So he was doing a thing. Then when he realized pineapples means SEX. Someone just asked. It's just our code word in the Discord and in the chat for SEX. Anyways, I don't care about what happened when I was in Lebanon. I just wanted to ask you about the small situation that happened yesterday. My boyfriend had scheduled a hair salon visit because I was unhappy with my hair color. We stopped for a bathroom break, and I was scrolling through reels, and I saw he liked a reel of a Latina OnlyFans girl that was giving advice to men on how to pull Latinas, attached pic below. So when he got out the bathroom, I confronted him about it. He said he didn't remember liking it and that it must have been by accident. And then he went through his activities on Instagram and likes and showed me everything he's ever liked and showed me how it was all motivational videos. And that Latina thing was the only girl in between. So he must have liked it by accident. He said he would never do that to me. He had also woken up at 2 a.m., then driven 4 hours to the hairstylist that he booked and paid for. He hadn't eaten yet, and then stayed at the hair salon waiting for me for another 5 hours with no food. Because he refused to eat without me, and then took me out to eat and shopping and bought me so many gifts. And then he drove me back 2 hours and was about to fall asleep. So I drove back the other 2 hours. So this is the video you're discussing. So she's discussing how to rizz up a Latina. Okay. All right, there's more. He was telling me that he would never do that to me. And just look at all the effort he puts into me. And why would he just ruin it by liking a stupid reel? Based on what you just said, I kind of agree with that. I don't think that the effort he's putting in because he liked the reel, that means he's wants to, I don't, yeah. He showed me his thumb position while scrolling. This is funny to me. And how he could have liked it on accident. And then he showed me that while most of his reels are motivational videos, OnlyFans girls, I don't know if I'm supposed to be even saying that, sometimes pop out of nowhere. I chose to believe him because he made good points. I just wanted to tell you about the situation to make sure that me believing him wasn't me being gullible. No, you also have to take into account what are people doing when they're scrolling through reels, right? They're scrolling through and they're liking the video. So whatever the video pertains to, he might like it, something might resonate with him, but he doesn't necessarily know that that woman does OF. So you can't assume that he's going to her profile and liking the video for the purpose of the fact that she does OF. Do you understand what I mean? Right? Like he can like what the reel pertains to, and the reel might have nothing to do with what she's doing with her life. And he might have never even gone to her profile to check on that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So keep that in mind as well. And I don't think a video that's titled How to Rizz Up a Latina is necessarily like the end of the world here, to be honest with you. Based on what he already does for you in other senses. You understand what I'm saying? I also wanted to ask one more question. If I do end up with this man and wanting to marry him, you remember how my mom hated him because she was racist and my dad didn't like him much either, but it was neutral? I just wanted to ask you if it would be a good idea to tell my parents about him when I get engaged or when I'm about to get married. Honestly, I would prefer to tell them when I'm married because that will be 4 years from now when I'm done med school, while engagement might be in the next year or two. Also, what do you think is the best way of telling them might be? Sorry, Tomisin, I know your expertise is in relationship advice and that these questions are probably too much for you to answer, but I do trust your wisdom and I think all the advice you give me is amazing. Thank you very much, Miss Sis. Okay. Now, here's the thing about your parent situation. Now, based on the information I know about your already existing situation, one thing you didn't mention here is that I believe you're Muslim and he is Christian, right? Or is it the other way around? One of the two. Okay. You guys have different religions though. So this is another thing, point of contention that really must be discussed because I mean, depending on how open you are to marrying a man of a different religion and how open he is, that definitely could work. But then there has to be a discussion about that and what your life would look like in a relationship with him, even though you guys are both different religions. Is one person or the other going to convert? And if not, how are you guys going to raise your children? Are they going to be Christian or are they going to be Muslim? That's an important conversation to have because if there's a disagreement there, you can't kind of parent children in both ways. We're going to have to teach them Christianity. We're going to have to teach them Islam, right? It's going to be very difficult to do that. So you have to decide what works for you. Also, let's say hypothetically you're Muslim and he's Christian and he's out, working a lot and you're with the children. Are you going to be expected to teach them Christianity even though you're practicing Islam? That's how are you supposed to teach your children a religion you don't practice? If you guys want your children to be Christian, then that's going to mean he's going to be having the one to be instilling the religion in them, but then he's not going to be the one that's around them all the time because he's going to be working. So these are questions that you have to ask yourself and you and your man have to have a discussion about, because outside of even what do your parents think, like that's one thing, but how are you guys actually logistically going to go about the process of incorporating yourselves into a family life and dynamic while being two different religions? I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely possible. But the thing is, both of you have to be in agreement of what the logistics of that look like. And that is honestly, for you and your situation, that is the most important conversation you will ever have about anything. Like at this point, when we're talking about dating each other and getting married, I don't want you worried about how much money he's going to spend. I don't want you worried about anything more than figuring out the logistics of that, because that could be the one thing that separates you and your relationship with him. If you don't get that question answered, because at least if you and him have answers, then when you go back to your parents and they're like, oh, but it's never gonna work, you can't do this and you can't do that, you'd be like, no, but we already discussed it and we already know logistically how we're gonna overcome that. Then when you have a plan, at least all your parents can do is accept the fact that you have your own plan and way of going about things. But the problem will come if you don't have a discussion about this or have an understanding of the logistics behind this. And then you go to your parents and you say, yeah, I'm going to marry a man from, who's Christian, or marry a man who's Muslim, depending. I can't remember which religion you are. And then they're like, okay, how are you going to make that work? And your answer is, I don't know. We're just going to make it work. We're just going to figure it out. Then it's going to be very difficult for your parents to get behind you. Because they're going to be like, this is not going to work. This doesn't make any sense. And there's no plan here. You guys are just going about it willy nilly and you're going to struggle in your relationship and in your marriage. And then your parents on top of that aren't even going to support you from the standpoint of feeling like you know what you're doing because they don't think that you actually thought this process out. So have that discussion with your boyfriend. It's not going to be a one-time discussion. Trust me, this will be a many, many, many hours and days and weeks and months discussion. But work right now, from today forward, work right now on figuring out the logistics of that relationship in a family sense. And it has to be more than just, hey, you can practice your religion in Islam because it's Ramadan right now, right? And it's not just, hey, I want to let you practice Ramadan and maybe I'll join you during Ramadan and we'll fast together and I'll support you and then I'll also do my own thing. It can't just be that, because when you have a family with someone, the kids have to be led in one direction. Too many different directions for your children will be quite confusing to them. And you don't want to overwhelm your children with all of these confusing and conflicting ideologies. So definitely have that discussion of how you guys want to raise your children, what that looks like, and what is the most important thing to both of you guys, so that you can then explain that plan to your parents. Okay? All right. This risk up the Latina thing is kind of funny to me. Pansy sends in a question. Pansy says, how to sharpen my discernment. Okay, good question. Hi, Tommy. I have some questions about discernment because I've been struggling with my ability in this area. Why do you think people feel trapped in relationships despite the many red flags? I want to understand what keeps me in a relationship instead of leaving right away. While your advice is usually to just leave, I know it's not that straightforward. It's often easier to consider in hindsight. Could you give us some daily practices that can sharpen our discernment? Okay, the best practice for you to sharpen discernment is to, before you even go out on a date with a guy, write down what you consider to be the ideal treatment, qualities, and character traits of the man that you want to be in a relationship with. I don't want you to focus too much on the physical, because then you'll get locked into your mind, hey, my man's going to be Latina, my man's going to be 6'5", my man, like that stuff is not as relevant as the intangible qualities. Write down all of these intangible qualities that you want and the type of treatment you want to receive from the man that you're going to marry. That way, when you go out, like I really mean write it down, like either write it down in your notes, write it down in your Microsoft Word, or in your notebook physically. When you have that down, that can become like your Bible, so to speak, or your Quran, right? It's like your template when you say to yourself, anytime I want to go back and think to myself, what is it that I was looking for, or what is it that I desired from a man in a relationship? That will be the thing that you go to for that answer. The reason I say that is because then when you go out on your dates, you wrote all of those things down from a detached standpoint of being detached from any one person or relationship. Now, when you're on your date with a guy and you begin to like him, you begin to like the vibe, you get used to him and all that other stuff, your feelings are now involved in that relationship and in that guy. And you're now feeling more invested in that relationship and in that guy. When you start to feel like that, though, that's the moment we want you to be able to refer back to your template, to your kind of like, so to speak, Bible of how you wanted a relationship to go with the man that you wanted to be with. Then you can easily just ask yourself, I said before I wanted this. Is this happening in my relationship with this guy? If so, then let's continue. But if I go through any one of these points and I can clearly, honestly say to myself that something I said I wanted and was important to me is not here or present in this relationship with that man, then I know I'm not moving in the right direction. And it keeps you a little bit stable in the sense of, instead of you having to be accountable to yourself in the moment when your feelings are involved, you get to be accountable to your past self of what you yourself already stated you were looking for. That way, you can't confuse it or twist it or convince yourself of something that's not true, because it's already written down there for you to see and go back to. Does that make sense? From your teachings, it seems we often have to assume things without seeking clarification. For instance, in my previous questions about my ex hanging his ex's artwork, you suggested I should have left upon seeing that. I tend to avoid assumptions and give people the benefit of the doubt. When do you think it's appropriate to do so instead of walking away as soon as we see something is off? Could you give me an example as when it's appropriate to give people the benefit of the doubt? Continue below. So I'll answer this question right here. When I'm talking about, for those of you who don't know, what Pansy is referring to is she was dating a guy. She went over to his house. And when she went over to his house, this man, it's not a joke, I'm not exaggerating, he had artwork from his ex, created by his ex, hung up on the wall in his living room, like on display. Like, this is like the main pieces of his living room. He's decorated it with art and paintings by his ex-girlfriend. So the reason I said to just walk away is because that's a clear indication of his level of feelings towards his ex-girlfriend. If a man, I'm telling you this as a guy, if a man has that level of, it's one thing to keep mementos. Do you understand what I'm saying? Of a woman that you loved in the past. That's one thing. Okay, that's not even super unnatural. But it's one thing to keep mementos in a box hidden somewhere where you're not seeing it every day. It's another thing to proudly hang it up on your walls, that every day you go into your living room, you're seeing artwork, not just gifted to you by her, but created by her. Her heart, her soul, her spirit is living inside that art because it's an expression of who she is. And every day you're seeing that on your walls, every single day. You have to understand, some things are such a clear communication of someone who is emotionally available. The point of asking questions, there is no point. Because it's such a clear communication of where he is mentally, that having a conversation about that is just kind of pointless. But questions are always good, and sometimes you might need the splash of cold water to completely realize how silly it is to continue this. And the only thing I would say in that scenario is maybe ask him some questions just to clarify that what you're seeing is as crazy as you actually perceive it to be. So when you ask him, hey, like, whose artwork is this? And he says, my ex-girlfriend. And you say, how long have you had this hung up here? He'll say, oh, the past 2-3 years. Or, he says to you, oh, I just love looking at it, or I can't take it down, or I don't want to take it down. Then you say, so you're just okay with having your girlfriend's artwork up here? It doesn't bother you, or you don't think that it's weird? And he says no. Then you say, oh, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you telling me all of this. I have to go. My bus, my Uber, and my train and my plane are all coming at the same time. And it's going to mean I'm never going to see you again. Okay. That's what you have to do, because there's no arguing with that person. And you're not going to explain to that person why hanging up your ex's artwork on the walls is inappropriate if you're going to be dating new people. If you have to explain that to someone, then you're already in the wrong place. That's why I told you that. Okay. I'm not here to defend him, and I think you had many valid points, but I want to discuss how can we differentiate between genuine reasons and red flags, since there isn't a clear guideline of what is right or wrong. So I kind of just explained that, right? That is such a clear indication of emotional unavailability that there's not even a discussion to be had. If it was a memento that you stumbled across that was like in the back of his closet or underneath his sock or underwear drawer, tucked away somewhere, that you found that it's clear he hasn't really looked at it or done anything with it in a long time, then there's a discussion there. Because of course, ideally you wouldn't want someone to be holding a bunch of mementos of their ex, but someone who is proudly hanging up artwork in their living room clearly still has some sort of attachment to that person, that they either didn't want to get rid of the artwork, or they purposely wanted to see it every day, right? Some things is just not worth even trying to understand their point of view, because you're just wasting your own time, right? I also notice many assumptions at play, like interpreting having an ex's artwork as still being in love with that person. Remember, he also admitted to me that his ex was just a rebound, which doesn't make a lot of sense if he is in love with her. Okay? So, I'm going to explain this to you kindly, Pansy. You do not, okay, with human beings in general, you have to learn to, when we're talking about communication, take into account probably like 10% of what they say and take into account 90% of what they do or they've already done. Because that will communicate to you more clearly how they really feel than what they're saying to you. Your confusion is stemming from the belief that you are taking into account what he's saying as the honest truth, with the assumption that he's trustworthy. So when he tells you, hey, my ex was just a rebound, hey, I'm not even in love with her, you believe it just because it's coming out of his mouth. With human beings, that's not how we work. Just because something's coming out of our mouth or we say something to be factually true about ourselves or our lives, that's not necessarily the case. You have to get good at gathering your information and facts by observing a multitude of different things. And majority of that should be things that are happening action-wise. So words are coming out, I'm not in love with my ex, she's not important to me, she was a rebound. But it takes action to literally, like, I want you to understand this. He looked at his wall, right? He said, this is too blank. I don't like this. He started nailing nails onto the walls, right? He might even be renting, risking, some of his deposit in his rent, nailing nails onto the walls. He said, this will be perfect for my ex-girlfriend's artwork. Nailing nails to the wall, hanging up the artwork, making sure it's all nice and even, making sure it all looks good, right? Even if he was doing this while they were together, right? He did all that work. And he put that there. You have to understand how much intention is going on. I want to place this one here. I want to put this one here. I want to put this one over here. Oh, they look perfect. This is perfect ambiance. This is so aesthetically pleasing. Understand how much action and intention that takes. And you have to understand, what does that action and intention actually represent? It represents a care or desire to express your love for someone or continue to remember that person through whatever it is that's hanging up on your wall. What do you think is the reason that men will have on their desk at work a picture of their family, their wife and kids? Because every time they're at work, they want to be able to remember those people that they love and care about so much. Do you think that that's an accident, that a picture of his wife and kids ends up on his desk where he's looking at it every single day? Apply that same concept to when a man is hanging up artwork of a woman, right, that he was with on his wall. Why would he purposely want to see that every single day, knowing that that was created by that woman? What logic does that make unless he actually cares about that woman? Do you see people hanging up, pictures on their wall of acquaintances and putting them on their desk at work? Do you see men doing that? Having pictures of just their casual acquaintances that they see, that people that they don't care about or aren't important to them, on their desk at work? Do men do that? Do you see men doing that? Right? He also has artwork from friends in his apartment. Again, the art is abstract, not a portrait. It's fine if the art is abstract, but what I want you to understand is there's a difference between hanging art up from a friend and hanging art up from a romantic partner. You're not getting it? Right? I believe, or a previous romantic partner. I believe we often need to navigate through a lot of uncertainties. While it's important to ask questions to identify red flags, I've noticed that the more I inquire, the more opportunities I give them to manipulate the situation and make excuses. Isn't it? So what are you saying, though? That you would rather not ask, so then you wouldn't have any answers? That would be even more confusing for you. Isn't it simpler to just walk away without probing too deeply? I'm seeking clarity on how to handle this. It ties back to my initial question about discernment. How can I enhance my ability to discern their answers instead of placing my trust in them? So the reason I'm saying this, that questions are even good, even when something seems ridiculous, is because I want for you, anytime you're thinking, hey, is this really as crazy as it seems? I want you to ask questions so that that person can really confirm to you that they're that crazy. So like, let's say for the sake of example, a guy is like, saying that cheating is fine or whatever the case may be, or he cheated on his girlfriend. I want you to like probe and ask questions. So you really think cheating is okay? You think that in a relationship there shouldn't be no consequences of cheating? And I want you to allow him to go into detail of how he feels. That way, when you walk out of the date or the relationship and you say to yourself, I'm never going to speak to this person again, you can confirm it's not because you're just, thinking something is weird, but you're not sure. It's because that person actually doesn't align with you at all. And they don't align with you based on what they said to you of their own volition and their own perspective. There's also a concern I have as a woman regarding safety when it comes to asserting boundaries with men. This can be challenging for men to grasp. It's much easier said than done to simply block someone without further communication. I often feel apprehensive about ghosting or blocking individuals without explanation. What, you think they're going to stalk you? Even when I attempt to reject someone politely, I worry about their potential for passive aggressive or aggressive behavior, especially if they have my personal information. This has led me to stay longer in unhealthy relationships. How can we exit these situations confidently and gracefully without compromising our safety, both mentally and physically? So the answer to that question is you have to be careful from the very beginning. So what do I mean by that? If you feel like you don't know someone well enough to know how they'll react to rejection, you need to be dating them from a different place until you feel that level of comfort. What do I mean by that? If you don't yet feel like, you're safe in rejecting a man, you definitely should not be going in the same car with him to and from your dates. Okay? So you make your own version of transportation to get there. And that way he doesn't know where you live. And that way he can't track you down if he ever wants to just kind of show up at your house if you're worried about your safety, right? The second thing is obviously, phone numbers and things like that. Yeah, sure, a guy might have your phone number and he might be able to message you a bunch of times, but that's what the block button is for. And at a certain point, all he can do is message you, especially if he doesn't know where you live. The other thing is obviously, if you're still uncomfortable with the idea of how he'll take rejection, you need to feel him out for a period of time and definitely not be in any private places where he could try something or be bold enough to try something that he wouldn't if he was in public and other people were watching him, right? If you're really that worried about that, it definitely you want to avoid any sort of private moments with him until you can trust that he can take rejection well, or that you don't need to necessarily reject him because he doesn't have any glaring red flags, right? It's about prevention rather than trying to figure out what you're going to do in the moment. In one of your videos, you mentioned that instead of asking guys what they're looking for, we should ask them about their life goals precisely. It's a way better question. So when someone says they want to travel, does that automatically mean they're not serious? Not necessarily, but I would ask them, what do you want from traveling? What is the experience you're trying to gain? The reason I say that, some people might say, I haven't lived life yet. I still want to see things. I still want to go places. I still feel like there's so much more out there for me. When you hear that rhetoric from someone, that means they're not ready to settle down. They're still looking for better. If someone is still looking for better, you need to let them be and going to find better. The type of men you want to be dating are men who are saying, I've seen what I need to see, right? Not that I don't want to travel in general or I don't think that that's interesting, but in terms of my relationships, I've seen what I've wanted to see, and I'm at a place where one of my priorities in life is being in a relationship. I might want to travel with my partner, but it's not like traveling is my priority. My priority is finding a good woman and finding a healthy relationship. And then from there, we can travel, we can do things and stuff like that, right? So I wouldn't say that when you hear the word travel, you just immediately think, hey, this is not someone I need to invest my time in. Ask more questions, ask what they want from traveling. And then if you start hearing this whole idea of getting more experiences, needing to see more, needing to do more, not feeling like they've had enough experience in their life, then that should tell you he's most likely not ready to do any sort of settling down, because that's not in line with settling down what he's describing there, right? I recently matched with a guy on a dating app who states in his bio looking for something serious. However, when we chatted, he mentioned he just quit his job as head of engineering. When I asked him about his future plans, he responded, I'll probably do some part-time contract work for a little and focus on art projects as I figure out my next move. Based on this, can I assume he's not ready for something serious despite his claims? Is it worth continuing the conversation, or should I just ghost him since we haven't met yet? Now, this is what I'll say. If you met this guy and he had quit his job to pursue the next thing that he was more passionate about, that's not a bad thing, as long as he knows where he wants to go. Now, this thing about figure out my next move, the question I would ask from there is, are you trying to do what you want to be doing? Or are you just saying you're figuring out what you want to do? Those two responses are two totally different responses. A man saying I quit my job because I want to pursue this instead can still be a man with a plan. A man saying I quit my job because I want to figure out what I want to do instead is not a man with a plan. And if a man doesn't have a plan yet for his life, you want to avoid even bothering to date him because you're just going to end up wasting a lot of time, because as he's figuring out his life, he'll also be trying to figure out his relationship as well, which is a waste of your time. Okay. In another instance, on a first date, a guy casually mentioned that he probably won't stay in the US for more than 5 years because he's from Europe. Again, that's a non-starter. You might as well not even talk to or message that guy after that, because he's telling you exactly that he's not really ready. If you want to be in USA and he's not, done. It was not a direct question. We were talking about something else and he slipped. However, he added in quickly, unless I meet someone. Ha, ha, ha. Don't fall for it. Should I focus on the first part of his statement about leaving the US and disregard the unless I meet someone part? What do you think about comments like if I meet someone or if I find the right person, I'll settle down? Are these just empty phrases? What kind of follow-up questions should we consider after hearing something like that? When you hear something like that, I want you to only listen to the first part, because what men say they want for their own life is more likely what they're going to pursue and try and do than this whole, hypothetical scenario. If I met someone perfect, yeah. If I met someone absolutely perfect, yeah, I would change my entire life and not do the things that I wanted to do before. I'd rather you meet men who are in the place where you want to be also. That way, both of you will feel aligned in what you're shooting for, right? What I want for you is when you decide what you're looking for, what's important to you, where you want to be, how you want to live in your future, then it becomes easy in finding a man who has that same idea for himself in his own future. When you find a man that has that same idea for himself, both of you, instead of having to change or adjust what you want, just shoot for the same thing together. And you help each other get to the same point you already wanted to be in. Having successful relationships is also about picking people who you are aligned with. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not just talking about aligned with, we're both attracted to each other. I'm talking about aligned mentally, aligned physically, aligned career-wise, aligned location-wise. Like if you want to live in USA and he wants to live in Europe, you should not be meeting him and thinking, my whole job here is to convince him to stay in USA. No, date a man who his version of his future is living in the USA somewhere. It doesn't have to be in the same town. Right? It doesn't have to be in the exact same city, but at least living in the USA somewhere if you're envisioning your life somewhere in the USA. You can't be meeting people that are in a completely different version of alignment than you and then trying to figure out how you're going to make your relationship work with them when their version of perfection or a great relationship is completely different than yours, right? Regarding safety, when I broke up with my ex, he kept dropping things at my apartment and mailing me letters and things, which made me feel unsafe. You can never be sure what they can do. I felt terrified he stalked me, which he kind of does. Even after a year of being together, we've heard many crazy ex stories. Yeah, that's true, but you also can't live in fear. Part of scouting men is scouting how they react to rejection from the very beginning. So I'm sure if you truly felt unsafe, there were things that made you feel unsafe about this guy when you were first meeting him. Like, clue into that, right? And be honest with yourself about that. If you start to get that feeling of uneasiness around a guy from the very beginning, that's not a man you continue to date, right? You don't get to a point where you say, yeah, I've been feeling unsafe for the past 2 years, but I'm staying with this man that I feel unsafe around, and now I feel unsafe to break up with him. Well, that problem didn't start, in the past 30 seconds. That problem started 2 years ago when you first started dating him. So you also use your discernment to discern guys from the beginning, understanding how things can end up and understanding how problems will progress or intensify if you don't address them at the beginning, or, avoid guys who are a particular personality type at the very beginning. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with men who are passionate, but if you start to see that men have this streak about them that is uncontrollable when they're emotional, those are men you avoid, right? Because those are the type of men that will be very irrational when they face rejection or they're faced with a situation that they do not like, right? So keeping track and being observant of a man's personality will also help you not put yourself in an unsafe position, because a man who can't control his own emotions and will just react to things without thinking or say things without thinking, those are the type of men that act so much on impulse that they'll be a danger to you, and you don't want that. But it's also easy to spot if you ask enough questions at the beginning and do enough observing at the beginning. Okay. All right. Let's go into our next couple of questions here. Let me scroll this thing down. Okay. Wow. There is so much to do here. Okay. Let me make sure I don't skip out on anything. Did we answer this one? Yeah, we did that one. Okay. So I think this one is from LP Baby. That hasn't been done yet. Okay. It says, question for Tommy. Hi, Tommy. This is about the 34-year-old salsa bachata man. Okay. Let me make sure we didn't do this. Okay. Excuse me. Are these red flags and grounds to end the... Stop that. Stop that. Don't do that. Are these red flags and grounds to end the dating stage, or am I tripping? Thoughts on my punishment approach? So the man makes plans last minute by suggesting planning 1 to 3 days before the actual date. I told him I don't appreciate that and it's stressful, and he apologized he would start planning dates by Wednesday. When Wednesday came, he called, but he talked too much, and when it was time to hang up, he said, let's plan tomorrow, Thursday, for our weekend date. He texted me good night and morning and said he will talk to me tomorrow about what we want to do during the weekend. I ended up not talking to him for 2 to 3 days. 2.5 to 3 days. He called me Saturday, and I got stern talking to him, saying that I would appreciate that and got a stern talking to saying that he would appreciate me checking in because we have been dating for 2 months and that he is not some guy I just went on one date with. He said he was sick / felt bad the whole week because I didn't check in and stopped replying at all. No texts and no calls. I told him we are not exclusive, and he got sad about that. Tommy, my main question is how overboard when punishing is too much? I'm still learning, and sometimes I take things too extreme. I do want to see him, but I want him to fear me. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair question. Now, what I'll say to that is if a man is planning with you, you want to kind of set a balance here. Obviously, it's not going to, when you go from dating a man, that you're just meeting from a Hinge and you're just on the first couple of dates to being like, you're obviously not exclusive yet. You're not boyfriend and girlfriend, but clearly like you guys are regularly going on dates. Like you're putting most of your time and attention into each other, phone calls all the time, dates all the time, hangouts all the time. Yes, of course, you want, like, things are going to change a little bit in your response and the way you approach things. What I mean by that is, of course, you don't want a guy asking you to go out with you the next day or the day of. You don't want anything like that. But 2 to 3 days in advance is good. Okay. Like at a certain point in your regularity of dating, like that is reasonable, especially if you guys are going on regular dates and things might change in your schedule and you have to make adjustments, right? That is not a crime. Obviously, like I said, you're not doing day of and you're not doing the next day, but your limit should be at least 2 days in advance will give you enough time to be like, okay, I know that then if we're going to go out on Wednesday and today is Monday, then that means on Tuesday, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to organize this so that by Wednesday, I have this time free. I don't have these responsibilities and I'm ready to go. That is more than reasonable for two people who have been dating regularly and we're now closer to approaching boyfriend-girlfriend status than we are, hey, we just met on Hinge status. Do you understand what I'm saying? So your approach kind of adjusts here. And I understand what you were doing in the sense of trying to punish him for not doing it how you want it, but also understand like in terms of planning, right? It's not like he's not planning and it's not like he's not trying to appease you. He's trying to appease you. So there's a little bit of working with him that you want to do because you want to also understand the difference between a man who is literally not trying to do anything for you and a man who's trying to work with you and appease you, but we just need to do some massaging so that it can be the way that works better for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So in that sense, when you're approaching it like that and you know this man has a desire to do it your way or to appease you, you want to kind of like work with him instead of being like, oh, I don't like you, because he's trying to like actually do something for you. It's not like he has no desire to try for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or make you happy. How can I get an actual gift from him in a flirty way and make him realize he's kind of dumb? Wait, what? You want a gift from him? Why do you want a gift from him? The man said he got me a present over the phone when he called after I stopped replying to his text for 2 to 3 days. He said the present was his recent STD and STI tests. Getting tested, that's a present. Getting tested for STIs is not a gift. I'm assuming, I wasn't there in the conversation, but I'm assuming it's like a joke. Like, I got my STI. Like, it's a surprise because I know it was important to you, right? So I got the thing. That's your gift. I don't think that it's meant to be that serious. It is a requirement. I'm kind of disgusted that he would consider this a gift. I don't think he means it in a literal sense. How can I make this a teachable moment to get an actual gift? What is the purpose of the gift? What is the gift doing? And what is the purpose of the gift serving? I don't understand. Basically, teased him and said, thanks for getting tested, but I know you can do better in a playful way. It's nice he listened to me when I asked about his STI status before, but that is such a low standard. I feel that him saying him having a disease-free PP is not a gift. Continue below. So the question is, what strategy would you recommend that I can use to get him to do nice things for me? So I think that your approach to this is wrong, LP baby. I'll be honest with you, because you're forgetting that men are like dogs. So you need to give him his dog treat for going out and doing something for you. I understand, yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, all he did was go and get an STI test or an STD test. There's nothing special about that. But what you have to understand is you're setting an expectation that when he does work for you, he will be rewarded with something. It doesn't have to be sexual or anything crazy, but with appreciation for the fact that he's doing work for you. You never want to forget that in reality, what you want is really a choice that he is making to give you what you want. So anytime he does what you ask for or what you want, you need to acknowledge that he did that thing. That way he understands that he's doing work for you and you appreciate the work that he's doing for you. That way, anytime he's thinking, let me go the extra mile or let me do the thing for her again, he's remembering the amount of appreciation and recognition you gave him for doing the thing for you. And he's reminding himself how worth it will be to continue to do work for you. You're building that cycle. This is actually, ironically, LP baby, I'm glad you asked this question. This is a cycle that a lot of women get into accidentally. They start thinking, well, my man's just doing what he's supposed to be doing anyways. Why am I showing him appreciation for that? My man's just doing, he's giving me an STD test. Oh, I'm supposed to clap it up because he doesn't have a disease. Well, what's amazing about that? The reality of it is he knows that him being clean and you knowing he's clean is important to you. He didn't get that STD test or STI test really and truly for him, even though it sounds like he should be getting it for him. He really did it because of how much he knows it will do for you and your happiness. You need to take some time to recognize that he did the thing for you because it makes you happy. That way, the next time he's thinking about doing something for you or not, he'll remember how you acknowledge and recognize when he does things for your happiness. And he'll be more encouraged to continue doing that for you. What you'll do, or you'll make a mistake of doing, is not acknowledging that, giving him his dog treat, and just thinking, well, this ain't nothing special. I'm waiting for something bigger. What it's going to start doing is discouraging him for doing anything for you at all, because he's going to always think if it's not huge, if it's not gigantic, if it's not the biggest thing or the most extravagant thing, it's never enough for her. When men start to feel like anything I do is never enough, they shrivel up and they stop wanting to do any work for you. Make sure, even in the small ways, you're giving him his recognition for doing something for you and your happiness, okay? It's an exchange that needs to happen for any successful relationship. So for X, it was a rainy day and I'm driving and made a comment over the phone. The that I need a new windshield because I can't see. He said, let's go to an auto shop to get you some windshield wipers. Oh, so for example, so this is what happened. I said they sell some at another store. He said, well, it depends on your budget. Tom, I am disgusted at him for this comment. Why would a man suggest we go to an auto shop to buy windshield wipers so I can buy my wipers? He said he can show me how to replace them as if it is some big favor. What romanticism? You're being unfair here. I was giving him bait to do something nice for me and solve a problem, and he failed. Yes, I know I can buy my own wipers, but it's the principle of being a problem solver and caring for me. He told me 2 times he cares about me, but if he can't solve a simple problem, isn't that a red flag? How can I make him see how not smart, cheap, and dumb he is? Tips. Should I peep and collect more data? I need a problem solver, provider man, not a dummy. Here's the thing. This is not your boyfriend yet. So I get it. In a perfect world, he would just say, yeah, babe, I'm going to pay for your wipers, get it all done. You won't have to worry about it. But also, he's not your boyfriend. Okay. Like, you guys have been seeing each other for, I think, a couple of months now. The fact that he wants to install them for you and try and make your life easier is a good thing. I think that your expectation that he should be already ready to be on hands and feet, ready to pay for anything you need and do anything you want at a moment's notice, I feel like is a little bit misguided here. I'm not saying that that's not something that should happen in the future if he's your boyfriend, or could happen. But what I want you to understand is I don't think that this guy is showing signs of someone who doesn't have a desire to do things for you, right? Because if he didn't give a damn, he would just ignore it or be like, whatever, figure it out somehow, right? It seems like he's trying to help you at least figure out your problem and try to make your life easier. That in itself is a quality you want to work with. It might not be, chat, class, LP baby included. We come on the show to discuss relationships and men and everything that you want. But I want you guys to understand, when you see certain qualities, understand how important certain qualities are to cultivate and how difficult they will be to find in men. Finding a man who even has a desire to do things for you, or try, or put effort into like you and trying to help you with things, that is a great quality to have. Figure out how to work with that quality, because that's definitely something that can be cultivated and massaged to grow into something beautiful. But work with that quality. Don't just be expecting it to be a finished everything by the very first second, but understand what is the difference between progression and something you can work with versus something that is just not workable with, right? So for example, something not workable with would be him just being like, oh, I don't give a damn, figure it out for yourself, right? You can't work with that. But someone who is at least saying, hey, I can help you figure out how to get cheaper windshield wipers if that's what you need. I can help you even install the windshield wipers, to make it easier for you, right? That at least that character, that intentionality, that desire to at least do something for you, it is better than him just saying, F you, figure it out for yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? You can work with that quality. Are some men just not smart, or does he not like me enough to get me windshield wipers? You've been dating for a few months. Getting someone windshield wipers is not in the contract of seeing someone for a few months. I just have to be honest with you. It's not something that people naturally just say, hey, I've been dating someone for a few months, I'm going to go get them their windshield wipers. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not really has to do with, oh, he's cheap or he's this or he's that. There's just certain things are appropriate for certain points in your relationship. I'm not saying that he couldn't do this, but I'm just not saying that he's a bad person because he doesn't get you new windshield wipers. Like, I have to let's set us up in reality. You know what I mean? I'm not his girlfriend yet, so maybe I haven't earned this type of treatment. For reference, I already watched your shows on how to extract gifts and money. Should I say gifts / acts of service make me horned up? You can make it a little bit of a kinky thing. I know Sis talked about this before. She makes it a kinky thing with her boyfriend that, oh, you like spending money on me, daddy. You like seeing me in this dress, daddy. You want to buy me these jeans. You want to buy me this dress that looks good on me. Like, you can make it a kinky thing, right? You have to cultivate that over time. And you also, he has to respond to that as well, right? So you have to see how he responds to that kind of playful banter and that kind of role play. The guys that really respond to that, you'll really be able to work with that and get some things out of that. Some guys may not respond to it as well. It's a feeler outer type of thing. You have to see how that works, okay? I told him in person that gifts and act of service are my love language, but I don't know if I need to appeal to his interests more. Probably. If you want this to be your thing, you got to make it a little bit more sexual, just to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to sleep with you, but, you know, make him feel that flirty, seductive energy. Ooh, daddy, you spending your money on me? Ooh, you such a big, strong, capable man. I love when you like, you could just trust me. You can work it out and see how he responds to it and make it a thing. It just takes a little bit of work and you got to feel it out a little bit, but you can definitely do that. Okay. All right, let's go into our next question here. Why is this doing that? Okay. Let me scroll down. Right here. Okay, I want to make sure we unmark that. All right, let's hop into this one here. It's by a bunch of hieroglyphics. Okay, mixed signals. Hello, I am Myra. Ooh, 19 years old. Sorry, Myra. We have an age limit in the chat. It is 20 or above. If you're under 20 years old, I cannot do your question. Unfortunately, we have an age limit for reasons that are very, very important, okay? Under 20 years old, a lot of your relationships are going to be very trivial and usually centered around the fact that the men you're dating are not even fully developed men yet. So what are we supposed to do with that, right? All right, let's hop into our next question, which is from Lyra. How should I handle this? Hey, Tomisin, I'm in a situation where I have this guy friend in my life who's been putting a lot of effort into our dynamic, writing poems, buying gifts, texting me constantly, and being really affectionate. The problem is I don't like him. He's not my type, has poor communication skills, lacks clear goals, ugly, and overall doesn't meet the standards of what I'm looking for. So what's the question here? You just don't date that guy. He's kind of a low value guy, but he's doing a lot to win my attention. I know you said it's better to have no guy around than a low value one, and that it's not worth sticking around for the ego boost and everything. Here comes the but. But you've also mentioned that competition is important for men. No. I know where you're going with this. Don't do it. So now I'm torn. You shouldn't be. I'm going to make it very clear to you after this. Should I cut him off? Yes. Because I'm not attracted to him and don't feel the same way? Or is it okay to continue letting him put in effort even if I'm not that into him? Just because it's good to have that kind of competition around. Let me ask you a question, okay? Because even though this show is titled The Players Club, I think some of you get the wrong idea of what we're trying to do here. Would you want to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't truly like you, doesn't envision you as a wife, but is sticking around with you and in a relationship with you just because he wants to kind of see what's out there for him, but have someone around while he scopes what's out there for him? Would you want someone to do that to you? Would you want a guy to do that to you? I'm assuming your answer is probably going to be no. So if your answer is no, why would you do that to another man? Like, that's a human being as well. The show's called The Players Club, but this isn't called the Treat People Like Trash Club, okay? You wouldn't want that done to you. There's no purpose to doing it to someone else. Plenty of ways you can make men feel competition in ways that aren't toxic, and plenty of ways you can like have great relationships with other men that you actually like without having to break this guy's heart or waste a whole bunch of his time. If you don't like the guy, tell him you don't like the guy. It's not even like you like the guy a little bit or you're conflicted. You just listed out a whole bunch of things like you're almost disgusted by this guy. You're not even a little bit tickled by him at all. You're truly disgusted by him. Why would you even allow him to stick around in your life to feel like he has a chance when you're disgusted by him? Like, that's like, you're doing him such a disservice. And also you're making it easy for him to waste time that he should probably be spending on upgrading himself as a man. Okay. Let him get a dose of reality that he's not going to be very attractive to women if he doesn't focus on these parts of his life, right? On having more clear goals, having better social skills. Like only the fittest survive. So if he doesn't have the skill set to be a desirable man, he has to realize that on his own time. Don't waste that time by allowing him to spend it on you, knowing that not you or any other woman would want him in the position that he's in now. Right? Part of building character as a man is realizing that if you don't turn into a big dog, you will get stepped on. That's character building as men. Some men, they get stepped on and they never realize that realization and they never change and they just continue to get stepped on. And some men, they get stepped on and they realize they need to implement change into their life to become a big dog that they can have access to everyone that they want and be desirable themselves. Let him have his character building moment. Don't confuse him by making him think he's actually where he needs to be when you have no intention of ever getting into a relationship with him. And even if you did, hypothetically, it would be because you love how much he loves you instead of you actually loving him, which is completely the wrong reason to be in a relationship. Speaking openly, I feel like I should cut him off because I'm not feeling it. And continuing this would only lead him on, precisely, which isn't fair to either of us in the long run. But I'm not sure what's the best way to do that. Should I ghost him, or is there a more respectful way to end things? I really just need your reassurance, opinion on this decision, and advice on how to cut him off without feeling bad or second guessing myself afterwards. Thank you in advance. So for your specific situation, you don't need to necessarily do this in a toxic way. He hasn't done anything wrong to you. Just tell him straight up. If you want to call him, because that feels a little bit more personal, I feel like that would probably help him see how you really feel and that your intention's not to be cold or disheartening. You just tell him straight up, I appreciate you trying your best and things like that. But honestly, you're just not my type. I'm not really looking to be in a relationship with you. And I appreciate how much you're trying, but like, thanks. But I can't do this. And I don't want to continue accepting gifts or accepting dates or chatting with you and giving you the wrong impression. I know that that's painful to do, but trust me, he needs that character building moment, right? He'll be in pain a little bit, but trust me, that pain, he'll either sulk for the rest of his life or he'll realize I need to make some changes myself to become a man that women actually want to be with. I'm telling you this. All boys have to go through this character building moment to become a big dog. All the big dogs you see, they had a character building moment like this, where they realize if they're not a big dog, they ain't gonna get none of the action. That's just the reality of life, okay? So let him have his character building moment. It's going to be a little bit painful for him to hear this from you, and it's going to be a little bit painful for you to tell him this. But I promise you, if he ends up becoming a big dog, this will be one of his, staple, plot points in his life where he actually decided he needs to make a change and make a turn, okay? And you can't feel sorry for men who aren't in a position of desirability. Right? If he's not going to work on himself or invest in himself to be a desirable man, he's going to either have to figure that out or continue to get stepped on. That's just the world we live in. And you can't feel so sorry for those men that you're trying to coddle them and like help them get through the, no. Your job is to be your own desirable woman and find you a desirable man. If the men in your life aren't desirable or aren't on the level that you want for yourself and a partner, you can't be focusing your attention on trying to help them build themselves up. They got to do their own thing. Okay. That's just, I'm sorry, chat. I have to be real with you. You can't be putting your energy into doing things for other people more than yourself. You have to let them figure their own things out, especially the guys. Okay. All right. Let's go into our next question here. Oh, this is from Pansy also. Since we already did one of yours, Pansy, I'm going to put a pin on this one and put a pin on LP Baby so that we can get other people's questions in as well, okay? Reina says, hot and cold. So I've been in a situationship for about 3 years. I know, sad, embarrassing. Wait. I left my kid's dad in 2020. I have 3 kids that are now 7, 6, and 5. And I started seeing this man in 2022 when I got divorced. Oh boy. Okay. So we're talking about it. Wow. All right. Let me recenter myself, because we're not just talking about a 3-year situationship. We're talking about a 3-year situationship and you have 3 children, which is just making this more complicated. Okay. And I feel extremely hard, What do you mean by that? As I have not dated in my adult life. I got married at 18 and was in an abusive marriage. I am now 26, turning 27 in May. I felt really hard for this man. We'd go out a lot. I would spend the night a lot in the beginning. It always felt like I was at home when I was with him. But he likes to block and unblock me all the time. That feels at home. At this point, I'm very much done. And after 3 years, I'm very much done and I want a serious committed relationship. You better not ask me about getting commitment from this guy. You better not. I'm going to scold you if you do that. I find myself happily single and then he unblocks me. And of course, I miss him and I'm quite literally addicted to how safe I feel when I'm in his arms. Although I know it never lasts and it's not real. So you're aware of that. We've also told each other we love each other. But when I tried defining the relationship, he said he wants to make it official. He wants to make it official and that he just goes through things. And then January last year, I found out he's been seeing his ex-girlfriend and they've also been dating. So I told her, let me get up before we read this next one. Let me get up before we read this next part. I don't even want to. I need to stretch before we read the next couple of. I already. Oh my God. When it starts with "so I told her," I know something very bad is happening. Oh boy, God help me. Okay. Let's realign ourselves here. Oh, boy. Okay, man. Before we read this next part, let me just give you a little bit of advice before we finish this part. Whenever you're in a position where you're not being taken serious and another girl is being taken serious, see, I know it's difficult, but you have to cut your losses. What are you gaining from telling her anything? You're the side girl. You've been in a situationship for 3. Like the thing about this that I don't like is, let's be honest. What are you actually hoping for? Because you know he's not going to be with you. You're just hoping he doesn't even get to have a happy relationship with that other woman. Let her figure herself out. This really bothers me. Focus your energy on you. That man wasted your time, and let's be honest with you. He didn't, I get it. He didn't treat you right. You were with him for 3 years. That is a choice you made to continue going back to him. Don't then be upset that you wasted 3 years of your life. I'm not letting him escape responsibility for treating you bad, but at some point you have to realize you're being treated bad and stop wasting your own time and your own life. Spending 3 years with a guy is not the guy's fault. Spending 3 years in a situationship, is not the guy's fault. You realized many months ago that this is not working out well. And you continue to come back and come back and come back and allow him back and allow him back. So whose choice really is that? Let's be so for real here. I just don't like let's keep reading. I don't want to rant too much. So I told her, and a couple days later, I found out I was pregnant. You have 3 children, right? So this would be your 4th child, 2nd baby dad. But I made the decision not to go through with it. I really wish it could be something more, but it never. but it never is. He's horrible at communication. Obviously doesn't want commitment. Most likely seeing other women. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you even mean most likely? I'm confused. He's literally been dating his ex-girlfriend. What do you mean he has been seeing other women? It confuses me why he always comes back even when he doesn't want anything with me, knowing how serious I am about him. He obviously just wants one thing. Oh, okay, let me explain something to you. What's your name here? Reina. The reason he comes back every time is because you allow him to. Men are opportunists. When they see a woman who is a good opportunity from the standpoint of someone who will allow them to do anything and continue allowing them to have access to her, they will take that opportunity. If you do not allow him to have access to you, then you'll no longer be a good opportunity or he'll be forced to move forward. Every time you allow him back into your life, you're training him to understand that he can do whatever to you, treat you however, say whatever to you, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are no consequences for any of his actions. Why would he say no to that? Why would he say no? I'm going to set you a really graphic scene. He's laying on the couch at your house after you just paid for his Uber to get there. His legs are spread wide open and you're slurping him off, nice and sloppy, just like he's laying back. He's eating Doritos. He's playing your PS5, right? That you got for him to enjoy, right? He's laying back, eating Doritos, playing PS5. You're slurping him off, crazy, balls and everything, right? He lifts his legs up. He says, "Yo, get a little bit underneath there, yo. I'm feeling nasty today." You're eating his butt, going crazy on him. He's enjoying. Someone said he's living the soft life. He's enjoying life, living back, cool as a cucumber. After you finish slurping him off, he gets up. He says, "Cool, I've had enough. Lick my Dorito fingers to get the Dorito sauce off my hands, you peasant." And you lick it off. He's like, "Clean me up. Get my towel." You get your towel. You clean him up. He says, "Call me my Uber, peasant, and better make sure it's Uber Black. I don't want to be traveling in any of that small stuff. I need an SUV." And you get him his Uber Black, and he goes right back to his place, and he doesn't even say goodbye to you. Okay, right? And then ask yourself, what man would say no to being able to continue to get that type of treatment for absolutely nothing? He just got his butthole clean. He got himself slurped off, played some video games, got some free Doritos and an Uber there and back. Why would he end a situation that benefits him in every way, shape, or form, and he has to give nothing to? It's like winning the lottery and getting paid over and over and over again. Do you think anyone's going to be like, "Hey, maybe I should stop winning the lottery. Maybe you should stop paying me. Maybe you should stop giving me away free money"? Who will say that? No one. So the reason I'm saying this and I'm painting that picture for you, even though it's very graphic, I mean it really seriously, because I want to put you in the mind of a man and ask yourself, why would anyone logically say no to that opportunity? It's such a good opportunity to give nothing and get a lot. So when we're talking about the totality of the relationship, rather than asking why it's confusing that he always comes back, ask yourself, why are you allowing him to always come back? Because when you allow him to always come back, that's exactly why he always comes back, right? It's not the other way around. Once you stop allowing him to come back, he will not always come back because there will be nothing to come back to. So the real choice starts with you. It doesn't start with him. Do you understand what I'm saying? This really isn't a question. I pretty much know what I need to do. I need to detach, disappear. If it's something he wants, he'd do things to pursue me more. Excuse me. I also just got him a Christmas present. I was making a joke about the PS5. Did you actually get him a PS5? And he blocked me a couple days later after he said that was the only present he got for Xmas. So when he reaches out, should I just cut him off and don't reply? I really want a real relationship. Help. I should have cut it off after I found out about the girlfriend. They ended up breaking up. He's single now. How do you even know that? Are you checking? Didn't apologize for anything. You expected him to apologize? Why would he apologize? We've never brought it up, and no matter how hard I try to let it go, he comes back and I fall again. Why would he apologize? Raina, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm just trying to be real with you. Why would he apologize? When there has been no consequences for any of his actions, why would he be remorseful enough to apologize as if that's going to change anything? Whether he apologizes, he gets to come back into your life. If he doesn't apologize, he gets to come back into your life. What purpose does apologizing serve? Your answer might be, oh, because he feels bad. You think he feels bad? Do you think he feels bad? He doesn't. Maybe you're unaware of it. He does not feel bad for how he's treating you. You feel bad for how you're being treated. He does not feel bad. Trust me. He feels great knowing he's continuously getting this great opportunity. He feels great. He's ecstatic, actually. Every time he gets to walk back into your life without any work, knowing how horrible he's treated you, he's ecstatic. He's not remorseful at all. Trust me. So I'm not saying this to be mean to you or make fun of you, because we all make mistakes. But the reality of it is, you're thinking that this man has remorse, that he is trying to confuse you, that he's coming back for no reason, when all he's doing is using you as a doormat and a great opportunity, because you're allowing yourself to be a doormat and a great opportunity to give nothing and receive a lot. There aren't many people that are going to turn down winning the lottery. So you have to ask yourself, why are you giving so much and doing so much for a man who clearly doesn't give a damn about you? Like, just not even in the slightest. Not even in the slightest. And why are you even caring who he's dating or whatever the case may be? Because you should be so disgusted with the treatment that you've allowed and the treatment that you've endured with him that you want to wipe yourself clean of anything that has to do with him. Because what you're doing now is truthfully and honestly such peasant behavior that you're making it even, I don't even want to say it, but you're making it even harder for a new man to come into your life and actually take you seriously. Because my worry also is, if any man gets a whiff of this is how you're allowing guys to treat you, they will never take you seriously. And I want you to gain some self-respect here so that you can start demanding respect in your relationships. Because if this continues with other men and other relationships, you're just going to find yourself in the same cycle with different guys. And I don't want that for you. So this really starts with your own self-respect, right? It doesn't start with the guys at all, because your self-respect is what's going to force you to say, hey, no, I'm not willing to take this, or I'm better than this, or I deserve better than this. Because you have to understand, part of your self-respect is what's allowing you to endure this, because you actually think that this is what you deserve in a certain sense, right? I know it sounds very twisted, but the truth of the matter is, if you actually believed you didn't deserve this, you wouldn't endure it. Like, you wouldn't allow it to continue happening. Part of your subconscious actually believes that this is what you're worth, or this is what you deserve, which is why you keep allowing it to happen over and over again, despite being intelligent enough to break it down and tell me how it's wrong and why it's wrong. So it's not your lack of expertise or understanding. It's the fact that when it's happening, you actually can't stand up for yourself, which is a self-esteem issue. And then it's also like a self-respect issue, which honestly just stems from your self-esteem and self-worth. Okay. So you're going to have to work. You need to be single for a little bit and work on that part of building up your self-respect and self-esteem, so that when you meet a guy, you're not taking this and actually believing that this is what you deserve, or this is all that's meant for you in life and in relationships. Okay, Raina? All right, let's go on to our next question here. Let me scroll down. Okay. Wow, so many messages, so little time. Okay, Anna Split. Okay. Anna. It said this is. We'll just say Anna. Okay, I have a confession with one of my coworkers. Oh boy. He rejected me and I don't know what to do. Oh boy. Hi, Tomisin. I'm 34, single, And I just confessed with one of my coworkers who is single. Okay. He's 22. He rejected me because he said I'm way too old. That's embarrassing. And he is afraid he can't relate to me, which I thought is a lie because we share the same taste in 90s music. He told me he is in anger. Sorry, I'm assuming English is not your first language. Got a lot of people sending questions in from around the world. So he is afraid it's not good for the marriage life. Like, so I'm assuming what you're trying to say is he has anger problems, so he doesn't think it's good for marriage life. Okay. But I don't really see this when we're at the office. Of course, you don't really know him because you're only seeing office him. I digress. He told me he is not good enough for me. Okay, that's he's just trying to make you feel better. I'm not saying that, he's better than you. I'm just saying he's trying to soften the blow here because clearly he doesn't want to be with you. I graduated with a master's degree, and he just started chasing his bachelor's degree, which I have told him I'm fine with that. I like him because he is a hard worker, good conversation with him, whether we chat about ourselves, problems, etc. And we share the same taste in music. Why do you keep saying, okay, that's not the only thing that a relationship is built off of, having the same taste in music. You keep saying that as if like that's supposed to be the justification for having a perfect relationship. Even I sang and he played guitar at the office a few times. Okay, but you're at work though. So sometimes this is the thing that some of you may have not learned yet, in the corporate world. And I used to work a corporate job too. Like, people at work are not your friends. Even when you do these work bonding things and stuff like that, like, these people are not your friends. Like, they're your coworkers and you have to treat them as such. Sometimes you can get too sucked in to your work relationships that you think they're actually relationships. They're not. Because seeing someone outside of work and not talking about work is very different from all this work stuff you'll be doing. And I just don't think all right, let's just go on. So after the rejection, I feel like trash and I don't know what to do. I have stopped chatting with him except the one related to our work. Anything related to our work, I think you meant to say. And do you think it's normal for me to have a crush with one who is younger than me? That's not unnatural, right? We're all attracted to different people. He's an adult man. It's not unnatural that you would have a crush on a younger guy. But I do think, so let's just say it like this. If the roles were reversed and let's say you were an older man and he was a younger woman and you had a crush and he denied your advance, it'd be very important for the work situation that you don't create an environment that makes him feel uncomfortable now, because he's clearly stated that he does not want your advances. So continuing to advance will be very detrimental to your work life and career, because then this becomes, someone said, an HR problem. Okay. And you don't want to lose your job over a crush. So honestly, we can have a crush on just about anyone, even a bum and a loser. I am totally guilty of this. So having a crush on anyone is normal. If it is the right thing for you to have a crush on someone younger, is it up to your needs? Wait, what? It's up to your needs are being met and your feelings. Okay, I kind of get what you're saying. I have learned just because you want a relationship to work out does not mean you should be mistreated because you want the relationship to work. If you feel very low right now, this worked for me when I got rejected without devaluing the other person. Easy way. Get a new style or makeup routine, try out new eyeshadow art, or do extremely cute nails. I tried doing French tip even on my toes. Just change everything you feel like is normal you. I tried changing my pose, the way I smiled, clothing style, hair, and tried doing makeup techniques. These new changes have now stuck with me ever since. Maybe see rejection as becoming stronger. You kind of force yourself to be introspective, aka actually taking care of yourself. I hope my personal experience gives you some ideas on your personal journey. So I think she's talking to the chat. Good luck, sister. Hope my comment helps you feel better while you wait for other feedback. Oh, sorry. I'm so silly. I was reading someone's response. But yes, sorry, that was not that second half chat. Sorry, I was reading someone's response. I'm so silly. So Anna Split here. Wow. So let me answer your question here. You have a problem here. The two main problems is this guy obviously is not into you. He was letting you down with the music, with the other stuff that he said. He's not into you. But like I said earlier, what you don't want to happen is you don't want to lose your job because this guy, you have a little crush on this guy. And I'm worried because you keep saying, hey, but we're both into 90s music. I'm glad that you're not talking to him anymore and you're kind of avoiding him because, yeah, I just keep it that way. Don't have too much conversation with him. Talk to him only about something work related or that's work relevant, because I want you to avoid an HR problem. It'll be embarrassing for you, or you might even get fired. And I just don't think it's worth it for a young boy that even if he was with you was probably just going to mess around with you anyways and not take you seriously. So my advice, Anna Split, is actually, ironically, it's actually in line with this answer by Sylvia, is to rechannel that energy into yourself in a different place. And ideally, I would love for your next crush to be someone not at your workplace. You're just creating a lot more problems for yourself by trying to cultivate a crush on someone at your workplace. It can become very inappropriate very fast, and even more inappropriate when that person does not want your advances. If you are a guy, I would slap you in the face. If you approach a woman at work and she's not feeling you, the last thing you want to do is talk to her ever again. Avoid her like the plague, okay? Because you don't want to be in no nefarious situation. But you're a woman, obviously, but still kind of the same thing applies, right? Like, be very careful now, because once you've made it clear you have a crush on someone and they don't want your advances, please don't put yourself in a position where they might be able to feel uncomfortable around you because they've stated they don't want your advances and you're continuing to try to do anything around him. So my advice, no more singing with the guitar when he plays it. Just avoid that, okay? No more anything that's not related to what's the work project today and what do we have to do. If you don't have to talk to him, then don't talk to him. Okay, and the next crush you have, let's make it outside the workplace. That way, if things don't go right, you don't get reported to HR, and you'll be perfectly fine moving forward without having to worry about the fact that you have to see that same person all the time. Okay, does that make sense? All right, chat. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether you want to ask your question in our free section, our premium section, or our private section, you can ask me all of those questions by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, okay? For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head on the top left corner of the show. It's of the screen there. It's just my name, Tomisin_Atobatele. It's also in my description if you're watching this on YouTube. For those of you who want to rewatch the show, if you're watching this on TikTok and you missed some parts or you came late, just go to my YouTube channel above my head. Just type in my first name, Tomisin, Tomisin. And then when you get to my YouTube channel, go to the live section. You'll be able to see this live stream and all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. And the best part is you'll have the YouTube and TikTok live chat embedded in the video. So you'll see all the conversation that we have and you won't miss any of the jokesters in the chat. Okay. And for those of you who are wondering what my schedule is every Monday and Thursday right now from 4 p.m. to 6, sometimes we go to 7. We got to 7 today. Starting at 4 p.m. Eastern at the very least. So if you want to join me right when I go live, it'll be 4 p.m. Eastern on Thursday is going to be the next live, okay? So Mondays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. EST. So until we meet again on Thursday, I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara, ciao, salam, arrivederci, adios, bounty, bon voyage. And I'll see you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you so much. so much.